What is going on? How is everybody doing today? Happy Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. Well, sort of, depending on when you start your week. But if you're a Monday through Friday person, it's halfway through your week. All right. Let's see who's in chat. What's up, Woke Mike? What's up, Natalie? Pinkerbell? Silent Siren? What's going on, JBT? Over in the UK? What's happening, Richard? What's going on, Christina? How's everybody going? This song does go hard. That song does indeed go hard. If you guys don't know, that's Rin, and that is Money Game Part 2. Rin is an amazing musician. He does hip hop. He does busking. He plays guitar. He sings. I've heard him sing reggae. I've heard him sing rock. He's a man of many talents, and he's a very good person. And recently, he's been talking about starting a clinic that is more centered around providing patients with a more comfortable experience than the sanitized. Well, I guess sanitized is still a good thing, but sanitized in the way that people are treated, like the way that human beings are treated when they show up to clinics and such, and a little bit more of a comforting experience for people that are going through illnesses and chronic pain and stuff like that. So really good dude. If you don't know who Ren is, for sure go check out Ren, R-E-N. Makes good music, and he's a good human being. All right. You saw the 21st century... blah, blah, blah. I tried too fast there. I went too fast. You saw the 21st Century Suffragette show? I'm glad you saw it. Nathan, what's up? Bucket, what's up? I hope you guys like that. I'm always trying to do my best to represent you guys as well as I possibly can when I go on to these shows. And obviously, 21st Century Suffragettes are an easy one because they're good people over there. And I really enjoyed going on it. It's been a while since I've been on a show. I used to go on Gray Pills podcast, and I used to go on Angela Knight's show. And that's about it. I don't think every once in a while I'd pop up on Kenko more, but just in Discord. It's been a little bit since I've been on somebody else's show. So, a little bit of the nerves and getting ready to go. And then, it was fun times. It's always fun hanging out with people like Diane and Benny Loco. Always fun. Always fun. So good times, and hopefully we'll be able to do that more often as the schedule allows. We also recorded our episode of Progressive Matters with the guy who wrote this book, Clay Risen. This book came out yesterday. It is available for purchase. It's a great book on the Red Scare. Talks a lot about McCarthy and Roy Cohn and has a lot to do with what's going on today. So that was a really good conversation with Clay Risen. We're going to edit that video, and it'll probably be out this Friday. You guys will get to see the interview. It's a little bit of a longer one. I think it's about an hour and then 20 minutes, hour and a half, because me and Clay had a lot to talk about, and I probably could have made it 2 or 3 hours, to be honest with you, because he's just like such a knowledgeable person. He's a reporter and an editor for the New York Times, and an author. He's written multiple books, and his most recent book is The Red Scare, How McCarthyism, Blacklists Have Shaped Modern-Day America. And if you guys know anything about Roy Cohn, I know a lot about Roy Cohn now. You definitely see why we're in the predicament we're in. And I think that there's no doubt that Donald Trump has employed McCarthyism in today's world. And, we talked a little bit, me and Clay, about the potential of somebody rising up and becoming the Edward R. Murrow of our day to, kind of put the brakes on Trump and his insanity. And, to give you a little spoiler, one of the things that we talked about was who is going to do that. And I really like Clay's answer. Clay's answer was in the realm of, it most likely isn't going to be somebody from your everyday media. It's probably not going to be an Edward R. Murrow. It's probably going to be a content creator or somebody on the internet, somebody that knows how to use the internet to reach people and kind of show what Donald Trump is doing. And, we see a lot of that out there with some of the people that we've watched rise in this industry, whether it's Brian Tyler Cohen or David Pacman or Luke Beasley or Adam Mockler. That's my bet. My bet is Adam Mockler. Okay, guys? So quote me on that. I think Adam Mockler is going to be the Edward Morrow of our day that exposes, because he just has a really good way of going about talking about these subjects. Look, I'm a little abrasive. I talk a lot of shit. I feel my lane, and we're gonna watch a Jasmine Crowder. God, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry, Jasmine. Jasmine Crockett. We're going to watch a Jasmine Crockett video that talks a little bit about my opinion on that, and that everybody has to fill their own lanes. And I look at Adam Mockler as being a person that possibly fills that lane of being the person that's capable of reaching people and exposing exactly how insane Donald Trump and everything that he's done has been. And that's what Morrow did with McCarthy and Welch, the lawyer for the Army during the Army committee. It wasn't a trial. It was like a televised committee. But Welch as well exposed McCarthy for being the bore that he was. The have you no decency, sir, And I think that we're going to see a couple people that probably rise up in that area, and I would guess that one of them would be somebody like Adam Mockler. So, yeah. Let's see. Dead Inside. What's going on, Schumer? I don't know if he's corrupt. He's just a moron, in my opinion. I don't think he's corrupt. I just think he's a moron. We talked about that, actually. Me and Clay talked about it. And the Democratic Party is old. It's old. I've said it over and over again. Until the day that they recognize that playing this game of, footsies with the right, where you're attempting to reach across the aisle and continue to play by the rules, and, you're censoring your own people like Al Green over decorum, they're never going to catch up. So that's why, obviously, the Democratic Party right now has an approval rating from within of only 29% in that recent CNN poll. And it's also why people like AOC have a 60 to 70% approval rating when it comes to who you want to lead the Democratic Party. Chuck Schumer is old. Chuck Schumer thinks that you should play by the rules and use decorum, and that playbook is dead. It's dead. I said it before the election. I said this election has two outcomes for politics of the future. I said if Trump loses, then we can say, okay, there's still decorum. There's still bipartisanship. There's still an ability to do politics in a way that attempts to bring people from both sides together. And I said if that happens, then Donald Trump gets excised from the Republican Party. Conservatives take back their party. And Donald Trump goes off to whatever fucking retirement golf resort that he chooses to, and we don't have to deal with it. But I said if Donald Trump wins, on the other hand, Donald Trump will have proven that the way to win in today's political society or political atmosphere, is to be the most extreme person, to have the most extreme ideas, to claim and apparently follow through with some of those insane ideas as well. And that's the change that happened. At this point, if the Democratic Party does not figure out that is the game, then they will never win another election ever again. And not only just the saying it part, not only just them saying that they're going to do these things, they're going to get the minimum wage, the federal minimum wage raise, they're going to institute UBI, universal health care, not just saying it, but doing exactly what Trump is doing now, and that is forcing it through, making it happen, using loopholes. Donald Trump is obviously showing to everybody exactly how weak and fragile the judicial system is. The executive, is a powerful branch of our government that's supposed to be checked by the legislative. And when you don't have a legislative, because they're literally cucked out their power to Donald Trump, and then the judicial steps in and says, hey, you can't do this. And literally Trump's lawyers are looking at them and going, you can't stop us. It proves a point. and that is that the judicial does not have teeth when the president chooses not to listen to what they say. He's not going to be admonished by the judicial system. And so if that's the game, then the left needs to recognize that that's the game that they need to play, that they need to tell their constituents, have no worry. We're going to do the same thing. When we get into office, we are going to get in, and the things that we run on, we are going to force down the throats of Congress, because that's what they did, and that's what we're going to do. You can't play nice. There's no time to play nice anymore. Am I yelling? Am I currently yelling? I'm always yelling. Jeremy, what's up? Nina, what's going on? Remember when I didn't have to work 3 jobs? I currently only have 2.5. Thank you, though. Let's see. Am I yelling? Am I being really yelly right now? Am I being angry? What's up, fan? I am yelling, huh? How loud is this? It's in the 6s. That's not bad. It's like -6. I'm not yelling. When they go low, we go even lower. Need to get control of the executive and legislative and start running impeachments on the Supreme Court. Yeah, I mean, nothing's off the table. That's how I feel. I feel like nothing is off the table now. And you know whose fault that is? That's the Republicans' fault. If you're going to go about, being the president and using your term in this manner, then nothing is off the table. And, one of the kind of like more dark parts of the conversation with Clay was exactly that like, that's actually like a sad state of affairs, right? Is that, when the government uses its power to check each other and checks and balances are there, then, whether or not it's the best system or not, that's debatable, but it is a system that does run and does, work even if slowly. Now, if we get into a case where one side, when they get into office, does whatever they want, says fuck the judicial system, says fuck the legislative system, says we'll primary any conservative that stands up to us, the left has really no means of recourse but to do the same thing. Really, at the end of the day, if there is another election, and I believe there will be, because I still believe in you guys, I still believe in the people, that when the left, when it's time to run, whoever they run, you can't have capitulation. You can't have complicity. You can't say, well, it's just the way it is. And you definitely can't have people saying, well, we're going to, support them in what they're doing. Instead, you have to say, when we take the reins of power, we are going to do the same thing to them that they did to us. And if they don't like it, that's too fucking bad. That's what they have to do. Yeah, what can they do? Wag their fingers at him. What's up, Stan? What's up, Alan? What's going on? Adam Mockler was talking about Trump not listening. Yeah, we're kind of all on the same page, to be honest. Mike, Adam Mockler was talking to you? No way. Heard that Hal said that Dinky's deportations to El Salvador were a faked photo op. Really? I don't know if that's true. I mean, it did... It could be possible in today's day and age. That could have been a fucking AI video, to be honest with you. But it looked pretty real as far as them going to the El Salvadorian prison. I'll have to take a look at it, though. I like Hal. Hal cracks me up. They made their bed. Now they need to sleep in it. Exactly. Yeah. And that's what it is. You can't let a bully push you around and expect them to just eventually leave you alone. I had somebody on a recent meme that I posted that said pretty much the same thing that I always say to you guys on the stream, and that is, I'm trying to be a good person. I'm not trying to be a nice person. So if, somebody comes into my chat and talks shit to me that's a Trump supporter, I'm going to talk shit back to them. And occasionally there are people on the left that's like, that's not us, bro. That's not how we do our thing. No, that's not how you do your thing. And that's why I've never claimed to be specifically a Democrat. I have left-leaning political values, but I refuse to be purity tested by a bunch of people that want me to get pushed around by bullies and just accept it because I'm supposed to be the bigger man and just turn the other cheek or just walk away. That's not going to happen. at the end of the day, bullies don't go away because you're quiet. Bullies go away when you punch them in the face. Bullies go away when you show them to be the cowards that they are. And there's a video that we watched the other day on the 21st Century Suffragettes channel. We watched Cliff Cash. We watched a guy pull a knife on him. Now, you don't see the guy with the knife. He kind of records him afterwards. But while he's doing a video on the street, you know, he's talking to his camera. He's doing a little bit of a selfie video. And a guy comes walking up to him with a knife, and Cliff says to him, "Yeah, you got a knife? I got a knife too, big boy. You want to do this? This is what we going to do." Okay? And the dude decided to, he decided to exit stage left. And that's how you defend yourself against that bullshit. That's how you make bullies go away. Is you go, "Yeah, you got a knife? That's not a knife." Okay? And, you got to have something to stand up for. And people on the left should have plenty to stand up for. Rights are being violated everywhere. That Khalil dude, I might not agree with everything he believes. I might agree with everything he believes. I don't know. I don't know the man. But I can tell you this. He shouldn't be being detained. He has all the civil liberties that me and you both have. And his civil liberties are being violated. That should piss you off. The rampant, just doing whatever the fuck they want without any, real care whether or not they're violating the Constitution. That should piss you off. When a judge says to one of Trump's lawyers, "Hey, you can't do that," and they go, "Oopsie," literally, "Oopsie, it already happened," that should piss you off. And that should make you feel like standing up for something. It should make you feel like using your voice. It should make you feel like saying to a motherfucker, "If you're going to take my rights, well, I'm not going to just sit here and let you do that. And if it doesn't, then I'm not the person for you." And on that meme, that's what a person said. They said, "Oh, yeah, well, if you're going to just call people names and stuff, we're not any better than them." Okay, don't care. Sure, fine, whatever you want. Yeah, I'm not any better. I'm going to stand up for the people that I love. I'm going to stand up for the beliefs that I think are right. And I'm going to do that in any way I possibly can. And if it just so happens to be that my lane is to sit up here and go, "If you want some, come get some. And if you want to talk shit, I can talk shit better than you can," then that's who I am. And that's the lane that I'm going to stay in. So, anyways. What's up, Jeannie? What's up, Kevin? What's going on, Doc? What's up, Doc? What's up, Max Left? Yeah, you'd think they'd be tired by now of defending all this bullshit every day, every fucking day, man, every day. I want to shout out those people. Shout out to Cliff Cash. If you don't know who Cliff Cash is, we're gonna watch some newer videos with different people. Probably not today, but in the future. I think I got one queued up from somebody different. But, expanding out into the realm of these other people that obviously occupy the same space as we do and that have the same values as we do. And we're going to keep exposing people to these other people's videos. But Cliff Cash, shout out to Cliff Cash. Shout out to The Enemy Within. If you don't know who The Enemy Within is, you should definitely go check out his channel. Super dope. If you guys haven't gone to 21st Century Suffragettes, they're only 25 away from 1,000. So if you guys enjoy, and just so you know, a big part of their spiel is that suffragettes need suffragants. It's a big part of their spiel, and they were happy to have me on their show. They wanted my perspective, and that's really what we should be about, is just inclusiveness and bringing each other together and not fighting within each other and using letting these little differences in opinions on little stupid things get between us. And they made me feel very welcome, and I had a great time, and I really enjoyed the show with those guys. So if you haven't subscribed to them, go over. Diane Russell's fucking dope. So is Benny Loco. They're all fucking dope. And Elizabeth, who I met, also awesome. Of course, Spiken. Can't forget Spiken, who's here every once in a while. I loved it. I loved being there. Dean, you've been following Cliff Cash for a year? Very nice. I just found him. Just found him. Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's push some buttons. Let's see if we don't nuke the stream doing so. Yeah. Don't forget about Ojeda. Me and Ojeda talked about punching Nazis at least once. At least once. All right, what do we got? We got Bernie Sanders on Meidas Touch. I thought this was going to be really cool because I've never seen. I don't know if Bernie's ever been on the Meidas Touch. Brett Meiselas, and his brother, super dope. Obviously, they unseated Joe Rogan's podcast as the most popular podcast, so big up to them for that one. So we got an interview between Bernie and Meiselas here and Meidas Touch. We got Trae Crowder talking a little bit about Schumer, because we got to talk about Schumer, okay? We talked a little bit about him last week, but we ain't done yet. We got Jasmine Crockett talking a little bit about exactly what I'm talking about people filling lanes and knowing the playbook. We got the Humanist report talking about a Trump voter whose wife got deported after she was detained on the way back from their honeymoon. You know, I have a hard time feeling empathy for these people. I do. Like I said, I'm trying to be a good person, not a nice person. If we get to it, this is one of the people that, like, I just found some of their videos and I like the way they're done. I like the production. I know they're a big streamer, so it's not like usually I'm calling out smaller streamers like myself. But Wisecrack, I've enjoyed a couple of the videos. Also, some of the people that have actually pointed out some of the things that I've talked about. They talk about techno-feudalism. I talk about cyber-libertarianism. It's pretty much the same fucking thing. But really, they have some really awesome videos on techno-feudalism. We got a video here about that recent, what is his name? Mike Flood, I think is his name. Yeah, Mike Flood, who got booed, as many of these Republicans are getting booed at town halls. And the lady who asked this question to Mike Flood in this video, if she's an actor, she deserves a goddamn Oscar, because this lady is pissed. Yeah, so we got lots of videos to check out. I think I'd like to start with the Jasmine Crockett video here. Jasmine is my queen, okay? My queen. Tell you what's happening. Roxanne, what's happening? Rosanna, what's happening? Artie, what's happening? Big deals going on out there in the free agent world, Artie. Big deals. All right? All right, so let's start with Jasmine. And this video is really speaking to what I was saying about people filling lanes. Because my belief is just like the military. You have the Army, the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force. And each one overlaps a little bit with the next military, right? The next branch of the military. But each one has something specific that they're really good at. And when we're on here and we're talking about what we can do as voters, as constituents, some of us are going to be people that get on phones and call people. Some people are going to be out in the streets protesting. Some of us are going to be making content. Some of us are going to be, reaching out to people and getting connections and finding people that can help us to get our voices heard. But what we really need to know is that we should be supporting each other within our lanes and not looking to each other and saying, why don't you do X? Or why don't you do X? It's okay to ask, but we got to get away from the criticizing of each other within the left. It is good. It's good to get people hyped up. It's good to motivate people, but we need to stay away from the infighting. We need to be supportive. And I right here, Jasmine goes a little bit into this.
I think.
Oh, no, that's not how we do that. Wrong audio source. There we go.
Seeing is, it's kind of like everybody needs to do this one thing. And everybody can't. Everybody can't go to the protests. Everybody can't be on the podcast. Everybody can't do national news. Like, everybody can't do everything.
Yep.
And so I keep trying to tell people that we have a team, and we really need to say, you know what, this is a star runner. This is a star quarterback. This is a star, and put people into their positions. And I think leadership should say, this is who is strong at this. So this is who I'm putting out front. And leadership can then wipe their hands of the situation. So I think that if people felt like, because right now what people see is I'm operating on my own, or AOC is operating on her own, and it's not necessarily that the caucus or that leadership is necessarily sanctioning or trying to push that agenda. They see us as more so outsiders, because anybody that's been following closely knows that AOC ran for leadership and was rejected by the caucus. I ran for leadership and was rejected by the caucus. So people are like, yo, like, what are y'all doing? And it's hard for people to understand the politics of being in the caucus. Like, the politics inside the caucus don't necessarily reflect the politics of the people. I think what we're seeing is...
And she's obviously referencing that position that AOC just recently lost, right? And no criticisms as to that man's ability to do his job. But it's time for the left to wake up to what's going on in this world. And that gentleman at the time said, well, the reason that I got this committee leadership was because I've done my time. Well, I've worked in many businesses in my life, and there's been lots of managers that I've worked with, lower level, mid-level, and upper management. And some of those people have been around for a long time. And some of them deserve to have the roles that they have or that they are promoted to. But when you have a person who is the most well-liked, the person that everybody in that business looks to because they can get shit done, because they get them motivated, because they make a difference. That person, that's the person I want in leadership, not the guy that's been there 20, 30 years. I'm glad you're there. I'm glad you're consistent. Thank you for doing your job. But what we need is a person that can inspire people. We need people that can motivate people to get out and vote. And it's not that dude, and it's not Chuck Schumer. It's the new, the young, the people that recognize how to use social media, how to appeal to influencers. That's what we need. And that's the younger group. And I think if you talk to somebody like Jamie Raskin, who's not exactly a spring chicken himself, he would agree with me. And that's because myself and people like Jamie Raskin are much more in touch with what's actually going to get some things done and care a lot less about the fact that, well, I've been here 20 years, so, it's just I should get it. That's not a winning strategy. That's not a winning strategy. So I hear what Jasmine's saying right there. And, one of the things that I was talking about, I was on a Wisecrack video the other day. And if anybody worked their time as Bernie, Eric, 100%. Yeah, right? It's true about everybody else, but it ain't true about Bernie. Fucking exactly. What's happening, Janelle? What's going on? One of the things I was on one of these Wisecrack videos the other day, it was a live stream actually, and he was kind of saying, how irritated he was with hearing people say that we need a Joe Rogan on the left. And they're talking a little bit about Hassan. And I truly believe people don't understand. Both the people on the left, the Democrats that are saying they want a Joe Rogan on the left, and the people that are criticizing them for saying it. I don't think either of those group of people actually understand what that means. Joe Rogan of the left, you don't need a hype influencer. You don't need a bro Rogan influencer. The thing that Rogan did before he went fucking nuts, and even then after, but he did it for the right rather than just on his broadcast, was he made people look human. And that makes a huge difference. Whether you like it or not, and I don't, when J.D. Vance went on Joe Rogan's show, he was the politician J.D. Vance. He said, I got kids just like you, man. You know what I'm saying? Just a normal, everyday dude. I put my pants on one leg at a time just like you do. And you would think for most people, like if you're not a JD Vance fan, you're like, well, that's obviously all fake. That's all an act. Like this dude's like, he's just trying to get into office. But that's not what certain people saw, because a lot of us were making fun of JD Vance for being a weirdo on fucking couches. Okay, that happened. All right, and it was funny, and I don't regret it. Okay, but because of the fact that we're out there saying JD Vance is saying dumb shit, like they're eating the cats and dogs, and then following it up with, well, yeah, I made up the story, but who gives a fuck, because as long as it's bringing light to these issues, then that's all that matters. So that's what independents hear. That's what people that aren't sure hear. And then when he sits down with Joe Rogan and he's like, I got kids just like you. Oh, can I tell you a story about how my kid did this one thing just like your kids do? Man, isn't it crazy? I'm just a normal person just like you are. That was enough for independents. That was enough for people that were undecided. That was enough for people that were like, well, I guess he's not crazy. Why are all these people saying he's crazy? You see, it's not about Joe Rogan. It's about the ability to reach people and just, let's be honest. Joe Rogan is a professional glazer, okay? He glazes them like no person has ever glazed a guest before. And to the point that he literally sat there while Donald Trump sat fucking like a broken CD on loop just over and over again saying the same dumb shit. And all Rogan did was go, wow, oh, that's crazy. Man, wow, that's a cool story. That's crazy. And that is all he needed. Because Donald Trump's crazy ass, when he's up there talking about whether or not you should swim away from the battery or swim away from the shark, we all see that shit, but not everybody else does. And when they sit down and they hear just Donald Trump on loop saying the same word 5 times to say nothing at all, and Joe Rogan just goes, wow, that's cool, that's crazy, just glazing all over Donald Trump's orange-ass face, that's what the left needs. They need a person that can sit down with Jasmine Crockett and let Jasmine Crockett talk about her family. They need a person that can sit down with AOC and let AOC talk about being a worker, being a laborer, being in the workforce, and being one of you. That's what they need. And I think that both the people on the left and the Democratic Party there, we need a Joe Rogan. Those people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And also the people that are criticizing and saying, we don't need a Joe Rogan, don't know what the fuck they're talking about. You don't need Joe Rogan. You need what he did. And that is, he made people like Neil deGrasse Tyson explaining physics look like normal everyday people and gave them a chance to sit down in front of him while he went, wow, that's crazy, and say, this is what physics is, and this is why you should be interested in it. That's what we need. Is Ojeda on? I love Ojeda. I might leave my own stream to go watch Ojeda. What's up, R's wife? What's going on? Meidas silenced Jessica Denson? I did not see that. Really? I'll have to go see that. Yeah, Rogan is a Russian tool now. Yeah, he's sad because he didn't get asked before Tim Pool. That's funny. All right. So, you guys got to see Jasmine. The queen. Walls Ojeda. That's what I'm talking about. LB! What up, LB? You should be pissed off. We all pissed off. And that should be the mood for the next 4 fucking years. Don't talk to me, I'm pissed off. All right? Like, don't come at me, I'm pissed off. Like, fucking, if you want the smoke, come get the smoke, but don't be surprised when that shit happens. All right? Like, that's what it should be. All right. Let's check out Trae Crowder. Because I haven't watched Trae in a long time. So let's watch Trae Crowder. Democratic Party needs a serious paradigm shift. Boo Chuck Schumer. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm telling you, the left, more than anything, needs to go back to the goddamn drawing board and start talking to them young people that's in the party and saying, how can we make this better? What do we need to do?
Hey, y'all, you know how when a MAGA voter goes, it should be illegal for Muslims to have opinions, their politicians go, oh, what a good idea. We're going to go ahead and add that to the mandatory racism section of our new shadow constitution. Then they all high five. Meanwhile, when a progressive goes, hey, shouldn't we at least try to do something to obstruct this regressive Christo-fascist agenda? Our politicians go, well, we would, but we don't want to be the ones to ruin the vibe, you know. Plus, our donors said we couldn't do it. By the way, you have to agree with us on that or it means you hate the Jews.
Hey! Hey! Fucking A! This is what I'm saying. That's the fucking energy. Like, that's the energy you need right fucking there. Call out the shit that's happening within the party. It's okay to criticize. It's okay to be analytical about it. It's okay to say that, hey, fucking, we can't do things in this way, and I'm going to call it the fuck out. Just remember, at the end of the day, you're in the same party. You have the same fundamental values. It's just a couple motherfuckers in this party need to be woke the fuck up.
All that. Yeah, well, I'm about done with all that. I think I'm about done with the Democratic Party, at least the version of it that's represented
This
by
version,
Captain Capitulation, Chuck Schumer, and all of his moderate, milquetoast, neoliberal, boot-licking buddies.
Yep.
I don't even want to look at Chuck Schumer's face anymore. I don't. Like, why is his glasses so
100%.
low? Push your glasses up, you traffic cone. For me, last week, the Senate Dems came.
I literally told my wife that last night. I was like, Chuck Schumer with his fucking glasses down on the end of his nose is the epitome, the prime example of what people hate about the left. That fucking looking down your fucking nose through your glasses bullshit. Pull your fucking glasses back up, dog. Pull your pants up. Put your glasses on right. And go sit the fuck down and let AOC or Jasmine Crockett or Jamie Raskin or anybody else with a fucking backbone go ahead and take that mic for a minute. Okay? Go ahead. Go sit down. We'll get you an insure. We'll get you a newspaper. You can look at the newspaper with your glasses on the end of your nose.
Is kind of a point of no return, because for most of the Trump era, my position has been that the left couldn't afford to be divided right now, that progressives and moderates need to come together and stand against fascism, right? But that didn't work. We lost, which is particularly embarrassing considering this time around the fascists are very stupid. But still, we lost again. And so now it's time for the Democrats to do what every perennial loser eventually has to do, a top-down rebuild. All right, we keep a few key franchise players, AOC, Crockett, Walls. We let Bernie stay on as a senior offensive consultant. Other than that, we blow it all up, clean house. I mean, that's what the right did 15 or so years ago. American conservatives looked around and said, wait, the GOP lost to a black guy? That's completely unacceptable. We got to overhaul the whole party into something that represents us as a people.
That's fucking real. You don't believe me? Read the book. Joe Moore, Broken Badges and White Robes. You don't believe that what Trae Crowder just said about them revamping their shit after a black man took the fucking highest office in the country? Read the book. Read the book.
Something way dumber, way meaner, right? And by God, that's exactly what they did. Along came the Tea Party, and before you know it, MAGA. And look at them now. Because by God, they don't stand for this sort of thing over there. No, sir. No. If a GOP politician shows even a hint of sanity, if they seem at all in touch with reality, if they even know what the word empathy means, MAGA kicks their ass straight to the curb, buddy. Have fun reading and being gay, loser. You got to go. That's what they do. And I'm sorry, but I think it might be time that the left takes a page out of MAGA's book. I mean, obviously they wouldn't be caught dead with a book, but you know what I mean. It's time for the left's version of a Tea Party movement, all right? The kombucha party movement. I'm just kidding. Please, for the love of God, do not call it the...
He said the kombucha movement. Don't give him any ideas, Trae. Holy shit, dude. We don't need that kind of energy. We don't need that energy, guys. Okay? Please don't. Please don't do that. That would be bad. Oh, my God.
The kombucha party. I don't know what you call it. The new paradigm shift. All right, every old school banking, Israel loving stuffed shirt Democrat needs to be primaried into oblivion too damn sweet. Okay? They do. It's...
Yeah, and look, what did the Democrats do? I've told you guys, as far as the Israel-Hamas shit goes, I'll make everybody mad, right? But when certain Democrats stepped out and said that they're pro-Palestinian, whether or not you agreed with it or not, they're in the party, right? Those people got primaried out, right? AIPAC, AIPAC, fucking primaried their asses into oblivion. Well, turnabout is fucking fair play. If you lost us the election because of your bullshit, and then you turned around and blamed it on people talking about transgender bathrooms when you fucking know that Kamala Harris didn't say a goddamn thing about it, then your ass should get primaried. You should get fucking primaried. And you should be primaried by a motherfucker with a backbone. Because you know what? You can talk all the shit you want about these kids that are protesting on college campuses. You can disagree with them. You can say that they're wrong. You can say, like, fucking, I'm not a fan of Hamas, right? You can say they're wrong. But you know what? They got more balls than you do. They got more balls than Chuck Schumer does. Because right now, Donald Trump's talking about, I'll deport your ass if you fucking protest. And you know what those kids are doing? Those kids are like, okay, all right. Fucking, at least they're standing for something. Because this current Democratic Party is fucking silent. Just quiet as a fucking mouse. And if we're not going to get some loud voices in there, then you're going to lose. And you're going to see J.D. Vance as the president in 2028.
Past time for it to happen, y'all, because we need to get some teachers and community organizers and union reps in there, people that'll fight for regular Americans and our kids in the future and for what's right, people who will fight, period, people who understand that it's pointless for a frog to reach across the aisle when the only thing on the other side is scorpions, especially when all the scorpions are racist. Like, it just has to happen. Schumer and them have got to go, okay? Because right now, Trump and Musk and MAGA are hurling bad idea Molotovs all over our democracy. And when the smoke finally clears, there ain't going to be no place for the feckless cucks that helped them light the rag.
Yeah. Red Scare. Didn't matter. You capitulated, didn't matter. You still get pulled up in front of the HUAC, okay? Then these Democrats are going to find it out. And then, look, you have already, like you said, the feckless, right? The fucking cowards. The people that just think, oh, we just have to stay with decorum. We've got it. We'll use a vote on the floor. That's what we'll do. We'll bring up a vote on the floor. That'll teach them, okay? Like, not just those people, but also, as he said, the bad fucking ideas. Look, I don't hate Hakeem Jeffries, but his ass also has came out and said some absolutely dumb shit. And I get it. That poor man is stuck in between Chuck Schumer and a bunch of livid ass progressives that are tired of fucking losing. I'm sure it's tough to be Hakeem Jeffries right now. Like, he's probably like, you guys, hold up, no, up, no. And then Chuck Schumer's just standing behind you, looking down his fucking glasses at the back of your head. He's like, I'm in charge here. Okay? Like, I get it. But his ass came out and gave Donald Trump a cool nickname. He thought he was going to own Donald Trump by calling him Captain Chaos. I was like, bro, you said you used to want to be a rapper. That's the most creative shit you could come up with? Motherfucker, there's rappers named Lil Uzi. You didn't want to throw a little Captain Chaos on there? You couldn't have came up with a better fucking nickname than that? It's like, Jesus, we're just fucking failing on all cylinders.
That's all I'm saying. All right, YouTube, back with more in just a second, but I want to let you know that these here stray thoughts of mine are once again brought to you by the good folks at Private Internet Access, the world's most trusted
changed.
VPN
We're not doing ground
provider
news
with over
anymore.
30 million downloads.
We're not doing ground
Why
news
do you need
anymore.
a VPN? Here's a fun reason. VPNs can make it appear as though you're logging on from any country on Earth, which means you can check out that country's version of Netflix if you want to. You know, they got Rick and Morty on Netflix in other countries. We ain't got that here. That's just for starters. There's more serious reasons, too. All right, it's dark days in these days.
What LB just said, too. We keep losing because Dems can't decide if they want corporate cash or support the people. 100%. At the end of the day, look, in today's environment, you need money, for sure. But there are people out there that can support you, that can help your voice. You got Pritzker and who the fuck else, Soros, that are currently fighting against the Donald Trump pushing. Oh, sorry. Not Donald Trump. Elon Musk. Sorry, wrong one. The president, not the first lady. My bad. Sorry. Against Elon Musk in that Wisconsin Supreme Court primary, right? So those people are putting money behind him. You got to have some money, right? But when Target don't want to support DEI, Target can go fuck themselves. When Walmart or Bud Light, whoever the fuck else wants to cut DEI programs or say that they don't support equal rights for all human beings, fuck those people. Okay? Because if your values aren't in line with your constituents' values, if the people that you're taking money from, their values aren't in line with your constituents' values, if you're a billionaire, I don't like billionaires. So I just want you to know this. If you funding the party, you funding me wanting your ass to get taxed. So you better be a Warren Buffett type of billionaire that comes out and says, hey, I should be taxed more money than my secretary. Because if you don't, well, I'm going to vote for the motherfucking rule that says that you do. So this needs to be a movement of the people. It needs to be people being so fucking loud that they don't need billions of dollars in corporate money. I love Kamala Harris. I voted for Kamala Harris. But one of the mistakes Kamala made was bringing out too many big names, too much on the side of the corporations, too much on the side of trying to just be that old school Democratic playbook, the Bill Clinton, the Barack Obama playbook. And it ain't that no more. You want to win, you got to win with passion. You want to win, you got to win with a fucking message. You want to win, then you need to do what MAGA did, and you need to say, when I get in office, I'm going to make shit happen, whether they fucking want me to or not, because I'll find every fucking loophole, I'll find every fucking way to get around it, and I'm going to make shit happen for people, because people are tired of you not making shit happen.
Digital streets, you got all these nefarious hackers and governmental types trying to invade your privacy, get your data, but PIA's VPNs can hide your IP address and encrypt your internet connection, thus shielding you and your online privacy from the prying eyes of all these shady internet types. Okay, they're VPNs are available across all platforms.
I love walls. Love me some walls
to safeguard all of your devices. Got every device in my household.
Okay, Trae, this is a long ass commercial, Trae.
If you like the sound of that, here's what you do. You click the link in the description below to check out PIA today. Includes 24/7 customer support and a 30-day money back guarantee. It's not. Look, there's the app, there's the button. Private internet access. Oh, it was a damn shame what happened last week. I guess Chuck Schumer, he got a group of enough Democrats together to cave to MAGA with no concessions whatsoever, because he felt that the only alternative was to let the government shut down, which would play right into Trump's hands. See, if the government shut down, that would mean that Trump would be able to do whatever he wants, and things would get even worse. So Chuck felt he had no recourse left but to capitulate and preserve the status quo. You know, the status quo wherein Trump does whatever he wants and things get worse every day. That status quo, yeah, masterfully played, Chuck. Sure.
Yeah, and that's my point right there, is what he just said. I said this last week, or on last Saturday on stream. When I first heard about shutting it down, I was like, shut it down. When Chuck Schumer came out and said, hey, by shutting it down, we're playing into Donald Trump's hands, I was like, all right, solid point. Let's look into that. Let's figure out what exactly happens if the government shuts down. And when I looked into it, what I found out is government employees get furloughed during that time. And I was like, well, I don't like that. You know, I don't like people losing money. And then I read on and it said they're paid retroactively back for the time that they spend as being furloughed employees. And I was like, okay, so paid vacation. All right. I hope I get furloughed during this shit. That would be nice. And then I saw an interview where Schumer was asked, well, isn't Donald Trump just doing the things that you're saying Donald Trump would do? If you shut down the government, isn't he already doing those things? And Chuck Schumer was like, yeah, kind of. Okay, motherfucker, then it's called messaging. You need to fucking recognize the last time that Donald Trump was in office, he had a 34-day shutdown over his hissy fit he threw because he wanted money to build his wall, which he never built. And then his buddy, you know, fraudulently stole a bunch of money from donations and then had to go to prison. Steve Bannon. At the end of the day, he was the one who got blamed for that. 34 days. Donald Trump had the lowest poll rating of his entire fucking term, which is saying something, because of that 34-day government shutdown. You don't need any more evidence that people know that Donald Trump and Republicans are the ones that are causing this problem. But what you do need evidence of is that you have a fucking spine. Because more important than the government being shut down and you making Donald Trump upset is the messaging that your constituents see that you're willing to fucking stand up for the things that they want you to stand up for. And that's why everybody wants Chuck Schumer gone. That's why nobody likes Chuck Schumer right now. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you're right. Donald Trump was going to do the same thing, whether or not you shut it down or not. But at least you could have done was you could have sent a message to your constituents that you fucking hear them loud and clear.
You know, you could have demanded that they include some protections and provisions for everyday Americans and the programs.
Federal courts aren't stopping him now.
Whenever they told you no, you could have let them blow it all
That's the
up
point.
and tell the American people, scream it.
No one's stopping him
say,
now.
Look,
Not the federal courts, not federal employees.
To help you.
No one
you could
is.
have done that. You could have done that, or literally anything to show even the tiniest semblance of opposition to the most regressive and destructive policies that we've ever seen in living memory. You could have done that, but no, Chuck, no, you are a man of principle. Sure, that principle is cowardice, but cowardice still counts as a principle, I
don't think that's true.
But yeah, no, they don't even want to hear it either. They know people are mad at them, and look what they're doing. Chuck and his buddies, they're canceling book tours. They're turning off their voicemail inboxes because they know that the recalcitrant plebes that they were elected to represent are upset with them, and they feel entitled to not have to deal with that. Well, I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I'm tired of these people who think that
I think that should be fucking illegal. I think that politicians shouldn't be allowed to block people. I don't think that politicians should be allowed to turn off their fucking messaging. You got elected into office. You knew what the fuck you were in for. You need to fucking hear what people have to say to you. That's your job.
They've been put there because they're better than everybody and know what's right and don't have to listen to what their own constituents think. I'm just tired of them not doing shit ever. Can you imagine just having a party that actually represented your values and worked to further them? Is that too much to ask, really? Is that beyond the realm of possibility to hope, to dream that one day we could perhaps have something like that on the American left? I'm just tired of it. And it's not, and look, credit to all.
I've been saying this for like a year and a half now.
Doing a fine job and aren't down with this. The House, they held it together generally. Not a fan of Jeffries. It's just a lot of the old guard has got to go. We need to turn it over to some new blood, to some people that actually have the best interest of Americans at heart. And I don't think there's ever been a better time to do it than right now. Again, I've said before, the stakes are too high. It's too risky. We can't blow everything up. Well, we're kind of in a how much worse could it really get sort of situation right now. I know that that's famous last words, but if you're the Democratic Party, what are you going to do? Be even more of a minority? No, let's shake things up, man. It's time. Write them, call them, protest them. Most importantly, primary them. Show them that they got to get with the times or get the hell out. That's what I think. But, what do I know? Listen, thank you guys for watching. Got exciting news. These squares and boxes up here. If I can figure out how to do it, and I think I can, this one should be my new comedy special. That's right, new one. Not the same old thing. New one called Trash Daddy that I'm very pumped about. I hope you'll check that out. These other boxes, same as they've been. Subscribe to the channel, see all these videos and podcasts and other things I do.
There's no boxes, Trae. There you go.
Is TraeCrowder.com. That's my website where I have tour dates where I go and.
Good job, Trae. Good job. You got the boxes up, buddy. You got the boxes up, big guy. Yeah, that's the point. It's time. Now's the time. Because people need hope. And what's not providing them with hope is the old guard. McCarthyism has won. Long after fucking Joseph McCarthy died of alcoholism. Long after Roy Cohn has gone out of American politics. Their ideas permeate the right. And the only thing that's going to stop them are people that have a spine that will stand up and do something about it. Not people. Eisenhower, during his time, eventually did do some things to help get rid of Joseph McCarthy. But 100% he bears responsibility for multiple Americans that lives were ruined under his presidency by McCarthy, by Cohn, by Hewitt. He bears the responsibility for that because he had the same mentality. He said, you know what? It'll work its way out, and eventually people will see this guy as crazy, and eventually we'll get rid of him. And he was right. But it took too fucking long, and too many people's lives were fucking wasted. I mean, people's entire lives gone. Because instead of having a spine and just standing up and saying this is bullshit and getting rid of the person, instead you want to go, it's better to observe decorum. Fuck that. Dude, Newsom, yeah, I don't want to even get in on that fucking, this going across this shit thing. Dude. The Newsom thing is annoying as fuck. Yeah, anyways. I don't want to even get into that right now. Nana, you know what I was saying, though, right? Like, even with the VA thing, those people aren't going back to work. None of them are being put back to work. Every one of them are being put on paid leave. So, yeah, I mean, they're making money, which is cool for them, but which also exposes Doge for the fact that Doge isn't trying to cut money from the budget. Doge just doesn't want people at work, so that way they can do what they want to do. My point is it doesn't matter. Federal judges aren't stopping them. Federal judges did not stop the deportation. Federal judges did ask for people to go back to work. They were sent back to work, and then they were sent home. Not a single one of those people has actually been reinstated as far as like doing their job. All of them are being paid, which, like I said, is nice. None of them are doing their job. Everything up to this point has shown federal judges can't do a goddamn thing when the president doesn't want to listen. I'm not making that up when I say that one of Donald Trump's lawyers looked at a judge and said, you can't enforce that. One of his lawyers literally did that to a federal judge. You're talking about your husband's VA benefits? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about that to talk about it. I'm saying federal judges aren't stopping Donald Trump from doing anything right now. I mean, they're doing the best they can. I'm not shitting on those federal judges. I'm not saying that they suck or they're not doing their jobs. It's not their fault. You know, they're standing up with the limited amount of power that they have, and they're doing what they can. And that's great because during the Red Scare, those federal judges didn't do that. In fact, those federal judges capitulated and ruined millions, or not millions, but tons, thousands, I guess, of American lives. I mean, you could say millions too. But those federal judges during the Red Scare capitulated. And these federal judges now, yeah, they give you hope. They make you feel good, but they're not stopping Donald Trump right now. Donald Trump is literally walking right over those federal judges and not even giving a fuck. Not even a little bit. We can hit the wallets of every asshole that comes for our money. Yeah, like vote with your dollars, for sure. Vote for your dollar. Vote with your dollars. Let's see. Yeah, I wish Walz. I miss Walz. I saw a Tim Walz thing the other day. God, I miss Walz. He was like a normal ass person. Just an actual, just normal person. And people, remember all the times people are like, we just need like a normal person, not these corrupt politicians. And then they got a normal person and they're like, nah, fuck that. God damn it, I hate people. Congress is the one who holds the office of presidency accountable. Exactly. LB, you win. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. The person that is supposed to hold the executive branch accountable is the legislative branch. And they do that by holding the purse strings. And they keep the president from doing things like he's doing right now. As you guys notice, Congress is non-existent. And that's on purpose. Curtis Yarvin, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, all of these people, they want a non-existent Congress, and they've achieved it. And now we are entering the stage of techno-feudalism, and we are, unfortunately, like I said, probably the worst possible thing about this is that it has exposed exactly how weak and ineffective our judicial system is against the President of the United States. The only hope that I have right now, as far as that kind of stuff goes, is the Supreme Court, because Amy Barrett actually has fucking insanely decided to stand up and have a spine bigger than fuck Chuck Schumer's is. Apparently, Amy Barrett, more of a civil liberties person than Chuck Schumer. Fucking crazy. John Roberts, not all that surprising, because John Roberts has always been center-right kind of Supreme Court justice. So, and I know somebody right now is like, fuck that, that's not true. But, I mean, if you're being good faith, John Roberts has many times voted for liberal outcomes. I mean, not a lot, not more than conservative, but definitely has. So the hope is that the Supreme Court still has enough sane people on it to fucking save the federal courts, because even then, even with the Supreme Court, they can't stop him either. They literally fucking said he's immune. So they even fucking castrated themselves. I saw somebody say something to me. Tired says, I'm talking lawsuits. How can Trump run the office if he doesn't have the funds? The problem with that, once again, though, Tired, is even if you sue him, look at what's going on with the defamation case right now. He's not paying that money out. That's the only problem with that idea. Lawsuits are great as far as like tying up time, but you're also fighting against a fucking billionaire. You're fighting a guy who has all the time in the world to send his lawyers while you have to show up to court. You have to take time out of your everyday lives. I mean, that's really up to the big money fucking Democrats. It's like the big money Democrats should be out there doing that. They should be filing lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, and a lot of them are. So I'm not going to knock them on that. Once again, I want to also remind everybody, though I may be criticizing people on the left, I do still agree that we all have the same fundamental values. And if they want to stand up and have a spine and be a part of the fucking conversation and help us fight the fight, then I'm 100% in support of them. Doesn't matter if it's Chuck Schumer, or Hakeem Jeffries, or even fucking Gavin Newsom with his talking to Steve Bannon ass, okay? But I'm not going to waste my time as well trying to defend those actions of people when they are undeniably wrong. I'm going to call it out. People can choose to either agree or disagree. But like I said, as long as we all agree on the fact that fundamental values like human rights, universal health care, UBI, the raising of the federal minimum wage, that's what's important to us, we can all still be friends. You can hit Elon since he has our... Now, there you go, Tired. So this is what I saw the other day, Tired, that I agree with what you're saying, is that if you really want to topple this regime, the way you have to topple it is by doing what people are doing right now, and that's continuing to drive the stock price of Tesla stock down. So I do believe it's true. I looked a little bit more into this since the last time I talked about this. It does seem likely that Elon Musk, if Tesla stock goes under $114 or $140, I can't remember which number. I think it's $114. Under $114, he will have a call. So right now, what Elon Musk has is he bought Twitter using a bunch of different methods, right? And one of those methods was he put up a portion of his Tesla stock. At the time, I think he owned like 700 million, but I think at this point he only owns 400 million shares of the stock or whatever. So his loans are attached to that stock as collateral, right? So if there's a call at some point, then the amount of money that stock is worth is less than his loans, then he has to sell his stock or something else to make up for it. Thus, if he does that, it would drive the stock of Tesla down to practically fucking nothing. It would destroy Tesla as a whole. So what people are doing right now is the way that you actually make a difference in this regime, in my opinion. Protesting Tesla, doing other stuff to Tesla. You guys know what I'm talking about. If you look into my eyes, you know what I'm saying. Not that I'd ever say that you guys should do that stuff. But, you know, regardless of whether or not you agree or not with how people are doing these things, it is effective. It is working. People don't want to buy Teslas. The Chinese company BYD does have a competitor currently for Teslas right now in China that, you know, abroad, people like, I think it's something like 94% of Germans said they will not buy a Tesla. 94%. That's fucking insane. You know, like That's the way that you're going to topple this regime, is by taking away the funding of their billionaire sugar daddy. And to be honest with you, in my opinion, it's absolutely too late to stop what people like Curtis Yarvin and Elon Musk want in the first place. But it's not too late to stop Donald Trump from his buffoonery causing more issues moving forward. I mean, you can definitely help to stop that. But my personal opinion is Elon Musk got exactly what he wanted when he got those servers into the Treasury Department and into the HHS and all that other stuff. And at this point, you can tell Elon Musk, once again talking about the impotency of the federal courts and our attorney generals, you can tell Elon Musk all you want that he needs to delete the data. He's just going to be like, yeah, I deleted it. What are you going to do about it? You know, like, that's just where it is. What's up, Redonk? If his calls are due, that would require him to back his calls. He could sell his stock or buy more to back his calls. Yeah. But it's attached through Twitter. He bought Twitter by using the stock as collateral. That's the problem. If he buys stocks to back his calls, the price goes up. No, you can't do that. Because it's a loan. You can't buy more stock. So you can't use your stock as collateral for a loan and then purchase more stock. You could sell something off from somewhere else. So if he was to, let's say, and this is hypothetically speaking, I don't know what his assets are, but if he were to sell off part of SpaceX or something like that to meet the loan, that would be the problem. If he could sell that off and buy more stock, yes. But the stock is collateral on the loan. So therefore, if the stock's value is less than the loan, then he has to sell the stock to pay the loan, or he must come up with the money from somewhere else. You can't just buy more stock. That's why not. Because it has to, the value of the stock has to equal the value of the loan because it is collateral. You have to. That's just math. All right. Anyways, I can't just sit here and talk about stocks. I don't know. Keep talking about it in the chat. That way I can respond to it. This is, let's watch Mike Figueredo and the Humanist report talk about this Trump voter. Devastated after immigrant wife gets detained by ICE on way back from honeymoon. I was like, I definitely got to watch this one.
When Trump was campaigning on mass deportation, he never specifically said that he'd only target criminals. He did, however, say that he would target them first, but it was always clear that he intended on expelling all undocumented immigrants and even talked about expelling some legal ones. Because by his logic, all undocumented immigrants were definitionally criminals since they were here illegally. The problem with this line of thinking, however, is that most undocumented immigrants don't hop the border contrary to popular belief. Yep. They come here legally and overstay their visas, which is a civil violation, not a criminal offense. Therefore, they are not criminals. Regardless, nobody wants to be undocumented, but they're forced into that situation, often through no fault of their own, because our system is completely broken, and it makes it very difficult for anyone to obtain permanent residency. And even if you do it the right way, sometimes that's still not good enough for Republicans. Trump campaigned on deporting legal Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio, because they obtained legal status through the Biden administration, which therefore makes their residency illegitimate in his eyes.
Yep. And that's something that got pointed out over and over again when people would talk to J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance would say, these people are here illegally, but they weren't here illegally. That is Trump or MAGA Republicans or J.D. Vance attempting to say, well, from my point of view, the way I read the law, that's illegal. But as you notice, those Haitian immigrants, have you guys heard anything about those Haitian immigrants anymore? Do you guys know if maybe they're still the cats and the dogs and the pets and all that business? No, because it was never happening in the first fucking place because MAGA supporters are mentally ill. That is the goddamn truth. And if you want to be 100% fucking honest about it, I also don't believe that MAGA supporters thought that it was just going to be the criminals that were going to get deported. These are the types of people that say, good, deport them all. They're all criminals. They're here illegally. Well, actually, no, these Haitians, you see the way the law works. Not the way I see it. That's mental illness.
But regardless of whatever bullshit justification they use, it's clear that the Trump administration isn't just targeting criminals. They're targeting law-abiding, tax-paying immigrants as well. And the reason why they want you to think that they're only targeting criminals is so that way you believe that their deportations are warranted and just. But regardless if they're criminals or not, all of them are entitled to due process. And the fact that...
And that's also the reason you saw that video of the Tren de Aragua. That's 100% propaganda. It's, look, while you guys are hanging out and the left is talking about like all these other people that are getting deported, well, look over here. Look over here. Look at the gang members. The gang members are the only ones being deported. Say goodbye to gang members. I'm making it safe out there. Meanwhile, that was like 200 gang members out of like 35,000 people that have been deported. The majority of people in studies that they have seen being deported are people with no record or minor violations, like fucking traffic violations that are being deported. It's just, as long as they can keep you afraid, as long as they can keep you angry, as long as they can keep you fearful, as long as they can keep you hating the other, fearing the other, all they have to do is just show you a 30-second Instagram video of them deporting 200 supposed gang members. You don't even know if these motherfuckers are gang members, but supposed gang members, and that gets your blood boiling enough that you're like, good, we got rid of them. We got rid of them. Meanwhile, this fucking guy's wife's getting detained and deported, which he was a Trump supporter, so, I mean, fuck around and find out. JD Vance said, yeah, I know he made that story up. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I still want the Democratic Party to do a fundraiser, Haitian barbecue with cat and dog themed foods. Fan. Yeah, we don't know if they're gang members. We have no fucking idea.
So many people, both immigrants and
You just have to
citizens,
take their word for
have
it,
had
bro.
their constitutional rights violated
own
in
research.
service of mass deportation is deeply alarming. And the fact that so many Americans don't seem to care about that is also alarming for different reasons. But a lot of people, including Trump's own supporters, didn't expect things to be this bad. And they certainly didn't expect their loved ones to be caught up in this mess. But now some of them are finding out the hard way that when Trump said mass deportation, he didn't just mean the bad immigrants. He meant all immigrants. And an individual named Bradley Bartell, who voted for Donald Trump, is realizing that his vote may have doomed his own wife, Camilla. And I want to talk about their story because I think it's important. Lauren Villagran of USA Today reports, Bradley Bartell and Camilla Munoz had a familiar small-town love story before they collided with immigration politics.
And dude, this is the person, right? This is the person you meet in real life. And you're like, so you voted for Trump? And you're like, yeah, I voted for Trump. Hell yeah, he's going to make America great again. And you're like, what about all the Haitian cats and dogs? Dude, the Haitians are fucking stuff up in that Ohio Springfield. That's actually happening, bro. It's happening. Like fucking, there's a lot of people out there that are being affected by Kamala Harris's bad policies, Joe Biden's bad policies, and you're like, actually, you know that none of those rumors are true, and you do realize that actually that Haitian population actually picked up a bunch of warehouse jobs within Springfield, Ohio, that actually led to a bit of a increase in, their financial productivity in that city, which was good for the city because the more people that have jobs, the more people that pay taxes, the more funding for the city that all makes things better, right? You know that? And he's like, look, he's going to get rid of the criminals, bro. He's going to get rid of those Haitians that have been driving around and running in people's cars and stuff because they're bad drivers. And then his wife got deported. That's why I don't feel any goddamn empathy at all. Not even a single little bit.
They met through
isn't your
mutual
wife an
friends,
immigrant?
had a first date at the local steakhouse, married after 2 years, and were saving to buy a house and have kids. Munoz was already caring for Bartell's now 12-year-old son as her own. But last month, on their way home to Wisconsin after honeymooning in Puerto Rico, an immigration agent pulled Munoz aside in the airport. "Are you an American citizen?" asked the agent. She answered no, she wasn't. She's from Peru, but she and her husband had taken the legal steps so that one day she might get U.S. citizenship. Before agents led her her away, Munoz pulled off her wedding ring, afraid it might get confiscated. She shoved it into her backpack and handed it to Bartel. He shook as he watched her disappear. He thought, what the fuck do I do? He saw her as a funny, caring, hardworking woman who came legally, not one of the illegals who the president he supported promised to deport. It took days for Bartel to find his wife after she was detained at the airport. It was nearly a week before Munoz appeared in the ICE detention system. Her name finally turned up in an online locator assigned to a privately run detention center in Louisiana. On a video call, her black curls hanged askew. She wears a tan uniform reflecting her lack of criminal record. Bartel worries about his wife. Emotionally, I'm concerned for her, he said. It can be easy being trapped in a room with 100 other people. They don't have anything in there. It's just so wasteful. Now I want to pause right here to give you some additional context because
yeah, and I hope he talks about this because somebody just also said it. Kelly Anderson just said, I shared an article about a French scientist that got turned away because they found negative comments about Trump on his phone. I think it was the German government that just put out a warning to their citizens that they cannot consider the United States of America as a place that you will obtain entry, because there are German people that have shown up to enter the country to either vacation or to work on work visas and stuff like that, and they have been turned away. So pretty much the German government is saying, don't go to America if you're German. If you do, there's a possibility they're gonna turn you away at the border, at the customs. And that is the problem. We are more and more isolating ourselves from all of our allies, all of the people that have defended us. So we're pissing off Ukraine. We're pissing off Russia, because we are, no matter what Donald Trump tells you. As much as Donald Trump wants to cozy up, Vladimir Putin literally fucking just bombed a place after Trump was like, I got the ceasefire done. And Putin was like, no, you didn't. Bomb that shit. We've already pissed off China. We're pissing off Canada. We're pissing off Mexico. Every single place. Ireland fucking hates us. Every single place that we usually turn to hates us. And all the places that we've always been enemies with also hate us. The only people at this point that give two shits about America is Israel. And that's because currently Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck that Israel just once again broke the ceasefire and shot 400 fucking missiles into the Gaza Strip, which is already fucking decimated. It's fucking like rubble. And they're like, 400 more missiles? And Donald Trump's like, fucking high five. That's the only place that gives a shit about us. And by the way, we have to supply them with weapons. So how the fuck are they going to help us when everybody else fucking hates us? When everybody else is telling their citizens, don't go to fucking America. It sucks there. And they're going to turn you away at the border anyways. This is like the most self-destructive way of running a government I've ever seen in my life. I mean, Donald Trump seems like some stock bro came to him and said, hey, you know the best way to get out of this inflation problem? Let's dive bomb the economy. Let's find the bottom, bro, and we'll get it off the bounce. We'll get it off the bounce. It sounds like some fucking literal 25-year-old GameStop trader fucking came up with the idea with how to save the economy. And then some literal fucking 25-year-old Call of Duty player came out with how we're going to run foreign relations. That's what it feels like right now. It's peak fucking stupidity, and it's peak self-destructiveness. This is the dumbest shit of all time.
Because like other immigrants, her status changed through no fault of her own. So she ended up overstaying her visa because she couldn't leave the country because flights were canceled and the border was shut down due to COVID-19. So naturally, she had to support herself. So she got a job working at a farm. She ended up meeting her husband at some point and decided that she wanted to stay because she ended up building a life for herself here. And this happens all the time. Immigrants move here legally, create lives for themselves, fall in love, have children, and then their status changes. And then they're forced to choose to either give up everything that they've built for themselves here or risk it all and stay in the country and try to find some way to stay legally. Any human being in this predicament would make that same decision. Yeah. Anyone would. I would, you would. It's the human thing to do. That's what Bartel's wife decided to do. And she didn't do anything wrong. These people who stay here and they overstay their visas because they built lives for themselves and can't find a way to stay legally, that's not inherently bad. What does that do to you? How does that harm other people? It doesn't. But yet, she's being punished because people like her husband voted for a man who doesn't think people like her deserve to be here. And on that note, the article continues.
Before he gets into that, that's because all of these people, I've said it from the beginning, they'll never understand it until it happens to them. And then half these motherfuckers still won't understand it after it happens to them. They'll still, you saw that IRS guy, the guy who got fired from the IRS, and they asked him, well, do you regret voting for Trump since he fired you? And he was like, well, no, there is government waste. He's literally saying, you're the waste, you dumb motherfucker. It's a cult. It's brainwashing. It's mental illness. Do you think we'll make it 4 years without major damage? No, it's already been done, Tammy. So the problem now, right, is the optics. That's what Americans should be concerned about. Americans need to take a page out of the book of the French, because the world is watching right now, and if Americans aren't standing up against their government, then they're going to just assume that we're complicit, right? They're going to say, well, we hate Trump, but we don't hate the American people. But 4 years from now, if Americans aren't making noise, if Americans aren't using their voices, if Americans continue to vote for these same isolationist bullshit fucking presidents and senators and congressmen, then the rest of the world's just going to assume that you are a part of it. So I think as far as can we avoid major damage over the next 4 years? No, the major damage has already been done. You look at what's happened in America to these other countries and our relationships with them, it's pretty fucking devastating what has already happened. But right now they hate our government. Over the next 4 years, if the American people don't wake the fuck up and make their voices heard and fucking get out on the street and show people that fucking we're not complicit, we don't agree with this bullshit, then when you go to Canada on a trip, or when you go to Europe on a trip, or you go to Germany or where the fuck, Japan on a trip, and you notice that those people are side-eyeing you and people are talking shit as you walk past, that's because you thought Donald Trump could be a good president. And now people rightfully fucking hate you for it, because the dude, whether you're not, like I said before, I'm not going to sit here and talk about his infidelity. I'm not going to sit here and call him a racist. I'm not going to sit here and, talk about the personal shit or the shit he said about his daughter. I'm going to sit here and tell you guys that the things that he's doing are bad for the country. His policies are bad. His ideas are dumb. The things that he believes, when you look into them, none of them work out. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I just saw today that RFK Jr. believes that we should let the avian flu run rampant through chickens and find the immune ones. RFK Jr. is a fucking moron. It's like a 90% mortality rate for chickens. They don't have the enzyme that would help them fight off the virus that is the avian flu. There is no fucking building immunity in the chicken fucking... They don't have the ability to fight off the fucking virus, you moron. And to be fucking 100%, we just realized that 135 million chickens that was culled in the last 3 months has in some way affected the avian flu. And possibly, if we continue to do this over the next 2 to 6 months, we might be out of it until the next cycle of it, because it doesn't go away. But we could be out of it. Egg prices, as far as loose eggs bought on the pallet for wholesale producers, medium size have gone down. Large have not. CPI has not. So you will continue paying prices on the shelf that are still very, very high. But wholesalers are able to purchase them for cheaper now, because the avian flu is abating, because we called those flocks, because Joe Biden killed 100 million chickens to make Donald Trump look bad. No, you fucking morons. He did it because that's what you're supposed to do. You don't let the fucking avian flu run rampant through chickens to stop it. Not to mention that viruses mutate. And if you allow a fucking virus to run through 5 million chickens, that's 5 million chances that it mutates and finds its way into more dairy cows, or potentially finds its way into people. The Spanish flu, H1N1, did that. Coronavirus did that. MERS did that. SARS did that. It just needs to jump to one thing, like a pig, and then it can jump to you. Go ahead and let that shit fucking run rampant through the chickens. Because eventually what's going to happen, it's going to make its way to a pig. And then it's going to make its way to humans. And then we're going to be back in a fucking pandemic with the dumbest motherfuckers and the stupidest fucking ideas in charge. This time there won't be a Biden to stop it. This time Donald Trump will get a full run at that bitch. So anyways, they have the dumbest fucking ideas. Dumbest fucking ideas. All I'm saying is, I'm not going to sit here and say, this motherfucker cheated on his wife. I'm not going to sit here and say, this motherfucker's a racist. I'm not going to sit here and talk about the personal shit. I'm just going to sit here and say, this motherfucker is dumb. And his ideas are bad. And the people that he's put in charge are fucking idiots. And the people that voted for him, they're probably worse.
Both of them have been thinking a lot about Bartel's vote for Trump. Yeah, I fucking bet. I knew they were cracking down, he said. I guess I didn't know how it was going down. He imagined the administration would target people who snuck over the border and weren't vetted. But his wife, they know who she is and where she came from, he said. They need to get the vetting done and not keep these people locked up. It doesn't make any sense. In other words, it's not like he was completely ignorant. He had some idea that a crackdown of sorts was coming. He just...
But I bet this dude does not care about that Khalil kid. I bet this dude, if you asked him, do you think that this Khalil kid should be detained with his civil liberties taken away from him, not arrested, just being detained, do you think that's okay? He's probably like, yeah, dude, he supports terrorism. Fucking idiots.
Just mistakenly thought that it was about whether or not the immigrants were vetted and not vetted, which doesn't really make sense. I don't know why he thought that, because Trump was very clear that he wanted to deport all immigrants, including some legal ones. So I'm not sure why he didn't take the time to look into this further, but I mean, what do you say? I don't know what to say about things like this. I swear to God, the profound stupidity of the average American never fucking ceases to amaze me. This is why we're one of the only developed OECD nations that doesn't have universal health care or mandatory
100%.
paid sick leave, because our collective idiocy makes brainwashing us so fucking easy. We are so easy to take advantage of because of how brainless we are as a fucking society. Like, they don't even have to try. Listen.
Aggressively gullible.
Reagan literally told an entire generation of Americans that we have to give tax cuts to rich people because their wealth would trickle down. And most Americans believed it. Many still believe it, even though that philosophy has led to a level of income and wealth inequality that has surpassed the Gilded Age. They still think that the wealth is going to trickle down someday, anytime now.
No, bro, he's going to give us $5,000, dude. That's how fucking dumb they are. Ah! They're literally like, yeah, but he's going to give us $5,000 though. God damn it, man. Oh, $5,000 that you'll literally pay $10,000 in taxes over the next decade. $5,000. He's going to get rid of the income tax though. You're going to pay more money in tariffs. Yeah, but like, actually, there's not going to be an income tax, though. Yeah, and your roads are going to fall apart. You're still going to pay state taxes. You're still going to pay fucking taxes at your store. They're still going to tax you on all kinds of other shit, but not the income tax. And also, they said they're going to give us $5,000, bro. We're just fucking dumb. I say we in the royal sense. I don't mean us, okay? I mean as a country. We, the royal we, all right? We're dumb. We're fucking dumb. Like, we can't do math. Someone waves $1,000 in front of our face and we're like, oh, dope, I need that money. Oh, why do you need that money? I probably I use it for rent. And then they give it to you and you're like, I'm going to go buy a TV. I'm going to buy 2 TVs. Fucking idiocracy,
I mean,
dude.
it's hard to not feel hopeless when so many Americans are uniquely susceptible to getting duped by politicians and con men, quite frankly. I don't know what to say. And when it comes to immigration personally, if I wasn't sure whether or not as
What's up, Meidas? That's a lot of Budweiser and Mountain Dew. $5,000 of Budweiser and Mountain Dew. And like $150 TV from Costco. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. Look, there's one part where Curtis Yarvin, when he's talking about America needing a dictator in his fucking techno-feudalist society, he says this, and I couldn't believe that I was like, he's right, he says, really at the end of the day, like what needs to happen is pretty much the civilian, the proletariat, needs to work most of their day, 12 hours a day, and then come home and then strap a headset on and just live in a virtual reality world and they'll be happy. And that's not me. So I want to be like, no, that's fucking wrong. And that's not most of the people I know. So I want to be like, that's fucking wrong. But if we had a Ready Player One society where people went to work and were able to come home and strap on a VR headset and just fucking have food pumped into their stomachs, a lot of our society would 100% sell out all of their freedoms for that life. It's fucking crazy.
a xenophobic presidential candidate's mass deportation policy would affect someone that I love, I probably would just sit that election out. Is that so hard to do? Is it so hard to just not vote if you're not really sure? I mean, even if you weren't sure whether or not your wife would be directly affected, did you not think about whether or not the xenophobic culture that Trump was fostering would maybe harm her indirectly? No. I mean, even if she's not deported,
they're not the smartest
things have gotten so bad. The vitriol towards immigrants have gotten so bad that Republican congressional candidates are proposing mass executions of immigrants. I mean, it's been clear for a while that this fascist party was getting increasingly Hitlerian over time. So even if you're ignorant of history and don't really follow politics too closely, did it even occur to you once that the increasing hostility towards immigrants might be a little bit bad for the person you fell in love with, even minimally?
And you know what's crazy about that? I was saying this about my father-in-law. So my wife, olive-skinned woman. My sister-in-law, olive-skinned as well. My kids are transparent white until they go out in the sun, and then the Hawaiian genes kick in, and they turn a nice shade of brown. We'll just keep them out of the sun for the most part, right? They'll have to stay indoors for the next 4 years. But on the other hand, my sister-in-law's children, her daughters, are both very, very olive-skinned. Okay, could definitely pass for being Mexican. Their dad, not the kid's dad, but my father-in-law, 100% Trump supporter. 100% a guy that's anti-immigration, 100% deport them all of that shit. And I'm like, you fucking idiot. Do you not realize that your grandchildren literally could get deported, could get detained, could have their civil liberties ripped away from them just for the way they look? Or, even worse, be constantly harassed or attacked by some racist dipshit. But yeah, you voted for Trump. That's fucking smart. Hilarious that you could be that fucking stupid. It's crazy.
Maybe even if it just affects her on a mental level, is that not enough for you to say, I can't support this? Did you not see any red flags? I mean, Jesus Christ. And it's already bad enough that his wife has to suffer the consequences for his stupidity. But to make matters worse, other people have to suffer because of people like him who don't do any fucking research. But here's some examples of other innocent immigrants like his wife who've also been detained. A woman in her 50s who's lived in the country for more than 30 years and is married to a U.S. citizen. A woman in her 30s with proof of valid permanent legal residency whose father and siblings are U.S. citizens and who first came to the U.S. as a teen. A European woman in her 30s engaged to a U.S. citizen who overstayed her visa when she was 21. A woman engaged to a U.S. legal permanent resident with whom she has lived for 9 years. I don't know how detaining or deporting any of these women makes the country better. How does this make America great again?
If a person is productive, if a person is living a good life, if a person is not committing criminal activities, and fuck all of your feelings when you're like, they're here illegally, that's against the law. I don't fucking care. You're a moron. If they're here and they're productive and they're not breaking laws, they should be made citizens. And if you don't like that, I don't fucking care. Because that's what MAGA does. MAGA says, oh, if you don't like that, I don't fucking care. So you know what I say? If you don't like that, I don't fucking care.
Does their absence suddenly bring down the cost of eggs? Does it make the cost of living cheaper? I mean, these are rhetorical questions, sure, but we also have to come to terms with the fact that a huge portion of the population, they're not ignorant. They would happily doom themselves to perpetual economic austerity just to fuck over immigrants and marginalized people, because America isn't just plagued by stupidity, it's also plagued by cruelty and a deep, deep racism and xenophobia that we've never gotten rid of. It's always been there, but there are certain times where it's more implicit as opposed to explicit, but now it's bubbling up to the top, and all of the problems of society are being blamed on immigrants and trans people and DEI. And I just feel like if your bullshit detector doesn't go off and you just accept that, oh, the immigrants are the problem when people at the top are making record profits, when CEOs are buying their 7th mansion and 4th yachts, the fact that you blame people with no money and no power, I mean, I just kind of feel like you're kind of dumb if you just accept that and you don't question that narrative at all. And part of the problem with mass deportation in particular is that you can't pull something like that off unless you violate human rights and deny people of their constitutional rights. And we're not just talking about immigrants. For example, civil liberties groups in Chicago, like the ACLU, are accusing the Trump administration of violating the constitutional rights of 22 people just in this state. This includes 54-year-old Julio Noriega, a Chicago-born U.S. citizen who was arrested by ICE after buying pizza. It also includes 47-year-old Abel Orozco Ortega, who was detained without a warrant outside of his home. Turns out the federal agents who were questioning him were looking for his son, but ended up arresting him instead. And again, this is just in Chicago, but it's not the first time that they've arrested the wrong person or detained a U.S. citizen or a veteran. And none of this is surprising. And even though the Trump administration is claiming that they're only going after criminals, that's just factually incorrect. Earlier this week, the president of El Salvador announced that he'd received 238 Venezuelan immigrants deemed criminals by the Trump administration. Now, this video showcases the harsh treatment they received. They were sentenced to hard labor, and
do you know why? Do you know why this video showcases them being treated like this? Because this is what Americans have, this is the trap they've fallen into. This is the voyeurism that Americans have fallen into. They want to see people get punished. They're having a shitty time. Their lives suck. Billionaires have fucked us over. Huge corporations use our labor and don't pay us a goddamn thing, and we're angry. So who do we take it out on? These people. Because you can't touch billionaires. Because you can't touch corporations. So these are their sacrificial lambs. This is what they do to keep you subdued. They want you to watch these videos of these supposed gangbangers and feel like, yeah, justice. Man, we got him. We got him. That's right. Look at these people. They're going to get punished so fucking hard. They've ruined my life. They took my taxes. They're taking my jobs. They're murdering our citizens. These fucking gangsters. They deserve everything they get. Meanwhile, the people that are actually fucking you over, they just keep fucking you over, and they give you a video to watch every once in a while so you could jerk off to your hate porn. Yeah.
This detention center in particular is known for torture, literally, but it turns out, as the New York Times reports, that family members of some of the men who were sent here contested the accusation that their family member was in a gang. And as Aaron Reichlin Melnick of the American Immigration Council points out, the Trump administration admitted that the men in that video who were sentenced to hard labor and might be tortured might not have had criminal records after all. Shocker,
Jesus
I know.
Christ.
In fact, we know for a fact that some of them are innocent.
Bro.
Aaron explains that the innocent men who were denied due process includes a tattoo artist seeking asylum who entered
God
legally,
damn it.
a teen who got a tattoo in Dallas because he thought it looked cool, and a 26-year-old whose tattoos his wife says are unrelated to a gang. In other words,
In other words, I was going to say this earlier because I grew up with gangs and I know all about how police fucking pull people over and accost them about their tattoos. In other words, if you have a tattoo and some dipshit fucking ICE agent thinks it's somehow related to a gang, you can get deported. And guess what? If you're a white person and you think that you're safe right now, they haven't gotten to you yet. Okay? Because at one point or another, they're going to start going after other people. They're going to start going after American citizens. Donald Trump has said on multiple occasions now that he wishes he could deport American citizens with criminal records. Well, you see how well he's doing that with the people that are here supposedly, allegedly, illegally. They're fucking up. And they're deporting people with tattoos because they're like close enough. So what do you think is going to happen when they start deporting American citizens that they also think are bad, that they also think are criminals, that they also think are parts of gangs? And you went and you got yourself a nice tattoo. Maybe it's got the number 13 in it. Maybe it's got the number 14 in it. Fuck, maybe it's got the number 88 in it. Maybe you should be deported. Maybe you just like the car number 13 in NASCAR, brother. Car number 13, that's mine. And they're like, oh, yeah, it looks like this guy's a Serrano. See you later, bitch. You're getting deported.
Words, they were profiled because of their race and because of the tattoos that they had, which were interpreted as gang tattoos, when in fact they were not gang-related tattoos. They were just tattoos, but since they were on brown people, they thought, oh, those are gang tattoos. Of course, lock them up. That's good enough. Don't need to have any trial, no due process. Lock them up, throw away the keys, send them to El Salvador, have them tortured. That's justice right there. That's making America great again. What a joke. But on top of that, permanent residents who are here legally, like Fabian Schmidt, are being detained and violently interrogated for no reason whatsoever.
Naked.
Other green card holders like Mahmoud Khalil faced deportation simply because he expressed speech that the Trump administration disagreed with. So no due process, no free speech. The Trump administration is just basically locking up or deporting anyone that they deem an enemy. And Trump supporters are perfectly fine with that. They think that this is making America great again. It's just sad that this is where we've come to. And odds are some of the people watching this right now know somebody who's been swept up in Trump's immigration crackdown or knows somebody who could be swept up in Trump's immigration crackdown. So I think it's worth stating again that we all have constitutional rights and we need to know those rights, which include the right to remain silent. You don't have to sign anything if ICE asks you to. You can request a warrant if they ask to search you. Constitutional protections apply to all of us, regardless of citizenship status. And even though the Trump administration has no regard for the rule of law, you will still make their jobs more difficult if you and the people in your community are informed about your rights. And as much as it feels cathartic to bitch and moan about people like Bartell who helped unleash this bullshit on the country, the fact of the matter is that we can't undo the past. He can't take back his vote even if he wanted to. And all of the people like him are going to have to learn the hard way that actions have consequences, unfortunately. And people that they love who don't deserve this are going to suffer because of what they did. But the best that we can do is protect people in our lives and communities and just try to do the best that we can to survive as things continue to get worse. We have to make do with what we have now, and it's not a great situation, but we can't just cower in fear. We have to live our lives, and informing people that we love about their rights, that is something that I think will go a long way. It's not going to make things better, but it's going to help.
Yep. Mind your bubble and lead by fucking example. If these people are going to do these things to the people that you love, the people that you support, then you got to stand up for them. You got to use your voice and don't let this shit happen to the people that you love. You know, like you said, that guy, whatever. Hopefully he fucking regrets his decision enough to not fucking vote for a Trump type of, president or politician again. But there's not a lot of hope in that. These people are super fucking brainwashed. So here, let's let's see if we can find it. This is like 3 days ago. It was a while back. Here you go. Trump says he's exploring option to send jailed U.S. criminals to other countries. President Donald Trump said Tuesday that he was exploring whether he can move forward with El Salvador's offer to accept and jail violent American criminals in the most severe cases, even as he and the Secretary of State Marco Rubio both say it raises clear legal issues. Rubio reached an unusual agreement with Salvadoran President Bukele a day earlier that the Central American country would accept U.S. deportees of any nationality, including American citizens and legal residents who are imprisoned for violent crimes. I'm just saying, if we had a legal right to do it, I would do it in a heartbeat. I don't know if we do it or not. We're looking at that right now. Oh, my God. So, yeah, I think he's talking about El Salvador. And like I said, yeah, that starts with, sure, we're getting rid of the violent criminals. We're getting rid of people with 30, 40 criminal, convictions. It's the worst of the worst. And that's how they get you. They get you with the feels. They get you with empathy. That's what they like to do. They like to gaslight the fuck out of you. So they're like, well, that guy's a pedo. You going to defend us deporting a pedo? I mean, you want a pedo in your fucking neighborhood? And you're like, well, no. Fucking don't want him in my neighborhood. And you're like, okay, well, then we're going to deport him to El Salvador. And you're like, well, fuck, the El Salvadorans want him in their neighborhoods? Isn't that also kind of fucked up? It's like, well, at least it's not in your neighborhood. Yeah, okay, he's not in my neighborhood. And then it goes down to, well, this guy, violently mugged a lady. Oh, you don't know anything about his story, but Donald Trump's telling you that he violently mugged a lady. Oh, okay, well, hey, fucking you can't be violently mugging ladies. So I guess that's bad. Yeah, I guess he gets deported too. Then it's like, hey, guess who commits the most crimes in our country? Poor people. What if we deported all the poor people to El Salvador? And that's when you're like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm poor. I don't commit crimes. I don't want to be deported. And he's like, well, you voted for me. Like, that's how that fucking shit works, dog. You can't sit around and allow them to fucking gaslight you and play off your empathies to the point where literal left-wing people are like, yeah, but that immigrant killed Laken Riley, though. That was really bad. And it's like, yeah, it was really fucking bad. It sucks for her, her parents, and anybody that knew her. But you know who needs to be convicted of that crime and to be punished? The motherfucker who did it, not the entire fucking race that he was, in some way attached to. Not every immigrant that's came across the border. Not fucking every person from his class deserves to be punished for that. That's the kind of shit that leads to being like, well, at the end of the day, yeah, we deported a bunch of people that didn't need to be deported, but also we got like 2 criminals. So there is that, This is the problem with when you live a life of fear, anger, and hatred, you fucking start a new Red Scare. That's what you do. When you allow Republicans to use McCarthyist tactics to make you afraid of the other, to make you angry, to make you hate people, to make you scared constantly, they don't need evidence anymore. They don't need witnesses. They just tell you, I have a list of 205 names, and we're going to deport these motherfuckers. That's what they do. That's what they do. All right, let's see. Where are we at? Where are we at? I kind of want to watch that, but I did say we're going to watch the Bernie video. Let's watch a little bit of Bernie video, because you know what? We need to hear some good stuff. This is Bernie Sanders going on the Meidas Touch. I don't know if he's ever been on Meidas Touch before, so let's check out a little bit of this interview.
Bernie Sanders, Senator, tell us about your Fight the Oligarchy tour where you're traveling to reddish and purplish areas and just speaking to the people and speaking to
Tammy.
Workers.
Appreciate you.
Well, the goal of the tour is to go to areas where there are Republican congressmen and women who won by slim margins and educate the people in those districts to demand that their member of Congress not vote for huge tax breaks for billionaires, while at the same time support cuts to Medicaid, education, and healthcare. So the goal is to make sure that we do not pass a terrible, what is called a reconciliation.
Is anybody else doing this? Is anybody else doing this? Or is it just Bernie? Because that's a fucking phenomenal idea. To go out to these places where you know that they have a very slim majority, and to say to people, look, you voted for this guy because he was a Republican. You voted for him because you thought he was going to be the best person to handle the issues that you think are the most important. Can I explain to you why he's actually going to make your life worse and your wife worse as well? That's amazing. See, this is what I'm talking about. When we talk about the people we voted for, like doing their job, we don't mean just giving speeches on Congress floors. Like, we're not just saying showing up to vote. Like, that's insinuated that you will do those things. But just like any other job that you ever have, when you got the job and you want to show people that you're good at the job, you do more than what's expected of you. You show everybody that they made the best decision by putting you in place to be this leader. Like, is anybody else doing this? I doubt it. Even the people I like, I doubt it. It's Bernie. Bernie's the one doing it.
Bill. But most of
Tim Walz is doing it. You're right. Oxford, you're right. Tim Walz is doing it.
Together to take on the oligarchs who
AOC.
now run this country, to take on the people who are moving us toward authoritarianism, and to make the point that the overwhelming majority of the American people want to see a government and an economy that works for all and not just a few.
One of the most powerful moments, we've been covering these speeches that I see, and we've covered your speech in Warren.
And thank you so much for doing that. I really do appreciate that.
Oh, it's
yeah, and nobody else is. Where is this shit on mainstream media? They're afraid to let you know that Bernie is fucking popular. They're afraid to let you know that Bernie's gaining steam again. And this is a criticism of the left that I do agree with, is that I think since the Red Scare, the left is very afraid of being attached in any way, shape, or form to what is considered socialistic values. Now, mind you, there's a difference between socialistic values and straight up fucking communism. But even with that being said, Bernie Sanders is immensely popular with everyday people once they know him, once they meet him, and once they hear his ideas. And I think a lot of this media is afraid to cover him. This is why this is like the third week in a row I think I've had Bernie on the show. I had a video of Bernie on the show, is because I really, really want to concentrate more on voices that are important. I want more Jasmine Crockett on my videos. I want more Bernie Sanders on my videos. I want more Jamie Raskin on my videos. I want the people that are actually doing the job, getting the spotlight, however small it may be on my channel, that they deserve. And Ben Meiselas obviously doing a great fucking job because his spotlight is huge.
It's what people want. People want people like you who are fighting and who are listening. And there's a part in your speech where you ask the people in the crowd, what's it like to live paycheck to paycheck? And people share what they're experiencing with you. Talk to us about that, Senator.
Well, that was an extraordinary moment. And here is the reality, which is not talked about very much. The reality is that in America today, our life expectancy is about 4 years less than other wealthy countries.
Yep.
But even
Canada.
Worse is the fact that if you're working class in America, on average, you live 7 to 8 years shorter life than people who are wealthy. Now, why is that?
Yeah.
And the answer is not just healthcare, which is important. Working class people, low-income people do not have access to the kind of healthcare that the rich do. But it is the stress.
Job opportunities.
The day-to-day stress that working class people live under.
Thank you, fan. Thank you, fan. 20 memberships, fan. I wish gifting memberships wasn't random. It would be better if you could click on the tab, take one if you want one. That would be pretty dope. And it'd also create like a little bit of a free-for-all, which would be kind of like Fall Guys, like watching Fall Guys. Call Bernie and ask him for an interview on stream. That's on my list. It is on my list. I want to get a hold of AOC. I want to get a hold of Bernie. I have had enough podcasts now with interviews to feel like I think that I can possibly reach out to other people. I think I have like 15 episodes now, so I'm going to try to do that. Thank you so much, fan. Thank you so much. You guys are truly like fucking the best people ever. And like the army that you guys are creating is fucking amazing. I can't tell you. I can't put into words like how special it is to me to see so many people with a membership to my channel. Like, to my channel. Like, that's crazy to me. So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys, and I love you guys for everything you guys do. And I hope to God that I live up to you guys' expectations as well. So I appreciate you guys a ton.
And I grew up in a working class home. I know a little bit about what it's like to have a family living paycheck to paycheck. And what I did, that was in Altoona, Wisconsin. I said, okay, all right, tell me what it's like to live under economic stress. And people just stood up. And one woman says, it's a question of whether I buy shoes for myself or my kids, whether I can afford eyeglasses, whether I can afford to go to the doctor, whether, I'm going to have the money to prepare a decent meal for my kids. That I live every day not knowing, what to expect. How do I survive? And what that is about, that is the reality that tens of millions of our people are living under. We don't talk about it.
Tens of millions, probably hundreds. I mean, fucking, what percentage of our country is poverty stricken? And even that being said, even poverty stricken, look, the reality is that the middle class is now the working poor. Middle class is no longer the middle class. Middle class is working poor. And upper middle class is now middle class. So as an upper middle class person, you might be lucky to take a vacation a year. You might, if you're really, really lucky and you don't want to have any money in your savings account, you could take 2 vacations a year. But if you're a middle class person, which is now the working poor, you legit don't have the time to be able to raise a family and have money to continue to provide yourself with just like the normal comforts that you want to have, so that way you can like live like a happy enough life and be able to go on vacation. And you definitely don't have enough money to have the money to go on vacation and then also be able to save money as well. And it's fucking insane to me that people can hear Bernie Sanders talk and be like, these are extreme ideas. It's also insane to me to think that anybody that is living paycheck to paycheck could be a conservative, because they don't in any way, shape, or form believe in any type of social safety net that would lead to your life getting better. They don't believe that you have a right to any type of basic human needs. At the end of the day, they think that whatever you're doing, you're fucking up because you can't be successful in this society. And somebody like Bernie Sanders is literally saying to you, hey, if you guys were to vote for not just me, but just anybody that had the same values as I do, we would work to make sure that you had a good, happy, healthy life where you had the basic human needs. And hopefully even we could provide for you some way for you to enjoy your life and potentially retire and fucking, have some time to spend on this fucking one trip on this earth that actually means something. That's fucking crazy to me. It's crazy to me.
And what I have learned over the years, that some of the most important issues are the issues that get least discussion. And one of those issues is not just the working class people live 6 years shorter lives, 7 years shorter lives than the rich. That's important. Why is that? But what's equally important is 60% of the American people in the richest country on earth live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
That means they go to work.
Somebody just said that in chat.
And if their landlord raises the rent, they don't know how they're going to be able to pay for it. Kid gets sick, don't know how to afford to send the kids to the doctor. Car breaks down, don't know how to get it fixed, etc., etc. That is the reality facing tens of millions of Americans in the wealthiest country on earth. And that is the issue that we got to focus on. And that is why we got to transform our economy so that it works for everybody, not just billionaires.
I heard one person in the crowd even say psychological torture. Oh. It feels like we're being tortured by these oligarchs.
Yeah. And to double down on that, look, I know Joe Biden wasn't an exciting president. I know that some of you are going to disagree with Joe Biden's foreign policy. I understand that. But the one thing that you can say is that during Joe Biden's presidency, he wasn't causing something to happen every single day of your life. You want to talk about psychological torture? think about what's going on right now with Donald Trump. And there's a lot that I would say is part of the plan. There's a lot that, I hear the people say he's intentionally exhausting people. He's intentionally doing these things. I only half-ass agree with that. I think it's Donald Trump's ego. I think Donald Trump needs to be in the news every day of the fucking year, not specifically because it's a plan. I think part of it's planned, but because he needs that. He needs the attention. He doesn't want to feel as though people don't know he's still around. And that's like truly the psychological torture, because most Americans, whether or not you're political or not, don't want to constantly be involved in politics every day of their life. Most of us that are currently here today are only here today because Donald Trump drug us into this. This isn't what I did for years. This isn't, it's important that I'm involved and I'm educated and I'm more literate, politically literate about these things, and that's a good thing. But there was times during Biden's administration where I had a week where there wasn't much for me to do. There wasn't much for me to talk about. Because, forever it was just people talking about Israel Hamas, right? Like, it was like, that's the only thing to talk about, so they talked about it. Overnight, it was very important to talk about. But also, like, that was how politics is supposed to be done. During Clinton, during Obama, even during Bush. For the most part, you're not supposed to know what the president is thinking every single day or multiple times a day. So when we talk about psychological torture, it's not just the fact that people live paycheck to paycheck and they know that if their car breaks down, they might lose their job. If they lose their job, they might lose their health care. If they have a child, they don't know where the money's going to come from, how they're going to pay for their kid, how they're going to get the kid to school. Like, not just that psychological torture, but then you're adding onto it this fucking egregious, like, narcissist that can't stop fucking making you aware of his existence. So you're doubling down on this psychological torture. I can't stand these people because I genuinely think they're so fucking selfish, so narcissistic that they don't think they've taken enough from you. They want to continue to sap your very fucking life energy from you. Why? Because it makes them feel good. It makes them feel important. I can't stand them.
You tell me. This is not hard to understand. I grew up in a family that went through this. If your car breaks down and you can't afford to get it fixed, how do you get to work? And if you can't get to work, you lose your job. If you lose your job, what happens?
He's gone through the same thing I just said. Yep.
People struggle every single day, and that impacts the doctors. There are physicians out there who call this the physiology of poverty. Physiology of poverty. Your body reacts, your mind. The stress of just trying to survive every single day breaks the mind, breaks the body. And that is why, people are living shorter lives who are working class.
And you know what else? It causes mass psychosis. If you don't know what mass psychosis is, you should look it up. But this constant need to live on the edge of wondering where your next, issue is going to come from. What's the next thing that could cause you to possibly lose your loved one, or, have something happen to your child, or to, possibly, lose your job or have a health scare. All of those things lead to mass psychosis. And I genuinely believe, I know that I get on here, I know I talk a lot of shit, I know I mock people, I make fun of stuff, but in all seriousness, I do believe that MAGA is a mental illness. I do believe that COVID and Donald Trump's incessant presence has broken these people's minds. When you live under an idea of constant fear, constantly worried about immigrants stealing, constantly worried that immigrants are ruining the country, constantly worried that LGBT people are grooming your children, constantly worried that there's pedos in Hollywood, constantly worried about all of these things, then you add on to that what's going on with Trump constantly coming in and out with tariffs on, tariffs off, all the things that he's doing, depleting the stock market, and then you add in just regular life as well. That leads to mass psychosis, because you get to a point where your mental is not strong enough to handle this type of adversity on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of these people are people that, though they might not have grown up in like the best possible places, they've never encountered adversity on this level where it's constantly just the fear is on the edge of their vision. It's just right there. It's just out of their peripheral. And at any moment it could jump in and take everything that they love. That leads to a mental break. No one can live under those conditions and be a mentally healthy person. I'm currently reading a book on COVID now, about the way COVID was handled, and it's a pretty good book so far. It's handling the COVID crisis in the most bipartisan way I think I've seen before, and we'll be having an interview with that author as well at the end of March. But I genuinely believe that, and like I said, I know that people will say, like, you know, it's a cop-out. No, they're just evil people. They're just bad people. I genuinely believe that these people broke. I don't think... I've seen too many people, personally, that I knew and knew as a different person that is completely different now, that is completely obsessed with conspiracy theory, completely obsessed with the need for Donald Trump to be in charge. That it's got to be mental illness.
Than the wealthy.
Yeah,
and
Chinese
this
sleeper
is an
cells,
issue
all
that
that
we've got
shit,
to deal with.
No, and Senator, so many people, though, voted against their interest or voted against their unions. And, you know, we were doing our best to try to cover what Trump and Musk were saying. Let me just show you what they were saying during the campaign. This was out there, yet people who were in unions, workers, voted for this. I mean,
Yep.
I think they were deceived what this
Tons
is,
of
and I want to get your
pro-union
take on
people.
it. But here, let's play this clip where Trump praises Musk during the campaign for firing workers who were striking for better pay and working conditions. Let's play it.
This cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in.
That's just a slur.
You want to quit?
Slur.
They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, "That's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone." So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. But you know, if you look at Argentina.
Yep, it's just like the IRS people that got fired that are like, well, it's crazy. I'm a Trump voter. I voted for Trump and he fired me and I work for the IRS. Veterans that voted for Trump, he's not pro-veteran. There's nothing about this guy that should make you feel as though he's the person that is going to fix any of the problems unless you're legit mentally ill. And one of the things I want to point out to you guys, too, about this show, I've said it throughout the time I've been here. I'm your emotional support animal, right? Like, when you guys come and watch this show, I don't ever want you guys to constantly be afraid. I don't want you guys to constantly fear. I want you guys to laugh. I want you guys to hear a good message. I want you to find ways to find hope. I want you guys to understand that, like, no matter what, man, end of the fucking day, you got one chance at this shit. You're going to live it the way you can, regardless of whether or not Trump is the fucking president or Kamala is the president. Like, what is it? You either, you know, die on your feet or what is it? Or, yeah, die on your feet or live on your knees. Like, that's been my mentality my whole life, is like, you put your head down and you walk through the fucking storm, you know? Like, you need to get to where you're going, then you fucking get that shit done. And, you know, I'm not interested in breaking people mentally so that way I can control them. I'm interested in seeing people raise up and get to watch and enjoy people's individual success. One of the reasons that I enjoy being a manager, one of the reasons I enjoy being a leader, is getting to see people's life cycle, see them go from being young people that don't realize their potential, don't understand what they can do, how successful they can be, and watch them become more confident people, watch them become stronger. And then, you know, at certain times say, hey, it's time for you to go. It's time for you to go accomplish something, do something else. This isn't the place for you. This place is going to hold you back. And I've said this before, is that I still follow some of my employees on Instagram and Facebook and other social media, and watching them succeed in life is one of my greatest joys. So it doesn't make sense to me. It just seems like such an evil thing to do, to want to break people so you can control them, because there's no happiness in that. There's no, you don't get anything good from that. You get good feelings from watching other people succeed.
You would love it. You'd be good. So what's going on here? How come people voted for that and now that happened?
Let me comment two ways. Number one, of course, what you're seeing precisely is that attitude now being reflected in what Musk is doing to the federal government.
Yeah.
Oh, you work for the federal government for 20 years? You're gone. We don't need you anymore. You have a poor performance. Who determined that? Well, I did. I never met you. I never saw you. I never talked to you. You're gone. So that is precisely what they're doing.
Yeah,
and I
where's
want
the
to say
lie?
this. I know there are people out there who say, well, it's really unfortunate what's happening to these federal employees. People like Musk are great believers in technology, artificial intelligence, and robotics. And when that revolution sweeps across the private sector and threatens the jobs of tens of millions of workers, you know what the Musks of the world are going to say? You're out of here. Have a nice day. Goodbye. They could
If they
care
say
less
anything at all.
about what happens to working people. But to answer your question more deeply, why did people vote for Trump? Which is a good question. Why do many working class people vote for Trump? The answer has, I think, less to do, to be honest with you, with Trump and Musk than it does with the Democratic Party.
Yep.
And in my view, you have a Democratic Party which over the years has been very strong and effective, I think, in fighting for women's rights, terribly important, fighting for gay rights, fighting for civil rights, all of which is important. But in terms of standing up and taking on powerful special interests and fighting for the working class, Democrats were not there. And I hope you know, and I think many of your listeners may know, that unbelievably, it's not just that we have today massive income and wealth inequality, where 3 people on top own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. The reality, the economic reality of today is that over the last 50 years, 50 years, real inflation accounted for wages, despite huge increases in worker productivity, have not gone up.
Yep.
Workers are making the same, maybe a little bit less than they were 50 years ago. And during that time, there was a $75 trillion transfer of wealth from the bottom 90% to the top 1%. So the average worker out there says, yeah, I hear the Democrats, they're this, they're that. Do they understand what I am going through?
Yeah.
Do they understand that I used to have a decent job in manufacturing that's gone, and now I'm making half as much as I used to? Do they understand that I can't afford healthcare, I can't afford childcare, can't afford to send my kids to college, that I'm working 50 or 60 hours a week, that my wife is working? Do they really understand it? And the answer is no, they don't.
Yeah. And you know the prime example of that? It's Chuck Schumer with his glasses on the end of his nose telling everybody what he thinks is right. Look, there's times in my life as a person that's in his mid-40s that I'm out of touch. I need the help of younger people. I need to understand better what's important to them, and I need to have their point of view, right? And if I look down my nose at the younger generation, then I'm going to miss out on opportunities to both be a better person, but also to live a fuller life. The Democrats, by giving away positions to lifelong Democrats because they've been in the business longer, rather than giving those positions to young, motivated, impassioned people, are making a huge mistake. Because those people, AOC, one of the things that people love about AOC is how in touch with her voters she is. Because she knows how to use Instagram. Because she knows how to read a chat and say fucking, like, I love you people. Thank you so much for being here. Do you think Chuck Schumer knows fucking one thing about how to talk to a chat on a stream? Do you think Chuck Schumer even knows how to turn on Instagram and fucking have his face? And I know I'm shitting on Chuck Schumer a lot right now. But, there's enough to go around. There are plenty of people on the left, including Kamala Harris's fucking campaign manager, who said, you know how you win? You win by playing between the 45s. Please, sir, please go play in traffic. Please. Because you're holding back the Democratic Party if you think the way that you win this shit is by playing between the 45s. Because right now the Republicans have stolen the fucking ball and they're playing between your 20 and your end zone. Okay? They've got the ball on the other side of the field about to score, playing a completely fucking different game than your old out-of-touch ass. If you want to win, you better start talking to people that are more in touch with what the fuck is going on now. Because he's right. The working class. You need a working class person. You need somebody on the left that can speak to lower middle class people. You know, one of the reasons I thought that like my voice mattered was because I come from the trailer park. I feel like I can talk to people. I specifically think I can talk to people that are lower middle class, that are impoverished. I can say, I've been homeless. I've eaten government cheese. You guys know what I'm talking about? Government cheese. We all know that's like a fucking special secret word, okay? If you've ever been poor in your life, you know about government cheese. And there's a bonding to that. There's something that says, this person has lived a life experience that parallels mine. You can't win as the Democratic Party the way it is right now. How many videos have we watched now? 4. The only one that probably hasn't said that was the Humanist report video, because it's talking more about the deportation of the man's wife. But every video we're watching, there's a very similar theme right now. And that is, it's time for the Democrats to go back to the drawing board. It's time for them to stop shutting out people like Bernie Sanders and AOC. I guarantee that behind the scenes, someone like Jasmine Crockett is probably not all that accepted. To us, we watch Jasmine Crockett and we go, how would you not love this queen? But behind closed doors, I guarantee you, the Chuck Schumers of the world, they look at Jasmine Crockett and go, it'd be great if you could tone it down a little bit. You're making us look bad. Meanwhile, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert's giving a hand job off in the corner, and the right are going, keep that shit up. They love it. They eat that shit up. They got to do something different.
So, to my mind, the reason that Trump did so well with working people is he said, look, the system is broken. And Democrats said, well, not really. It just, we need a little bit of changes.
Yep.
Trump is right. The system is broken. The problem is
exposed it.
His quote unquote solutions are going to make a bad situation even worse. Is the system broken? Yes. Are you living in a democracy today? Well, maybe.
Maybe.
But we have a corrupt campaign finance system,
good cheese, Max,
which gives you one vote, but Elon Musk the ability to spend $270 million to elect Donald Trump as the next president. That's a broken anti-democratic campaign finance system. We have a healthcare system where, despite spending twice as much per capita on healthcare as any other country, 85 million are uninsured or underinsured. The cost of healthcare is soaring. We don't have doctors, nurses, mental health counselors, dentists. Is our healthcare system working well? No, it is broken. Is our educational system working well? No. Nobody can afford childcare. Hugely expensive. Kids are going deeply into debt to get a higher education. That system is broken. What about housing? Well, we've got 800,000 people who are homeless, but that's only half the problem. There are 20 million people who are spending 50% of their limited incomes on housing. I talk to people in Vermont trying to bring in a teacher from out of state. They signed up a good teacher. Teacher couldn't come because the cost of housing was so high. True in Vermont, true all over this country. So the system is broken for working class, for the middle class, for low income people. For the people on top, they're doing fantastically well. So what the Democratic Party has to do is understand that reality, can't keep defending the status quo, and say, you know what, we are prepared to take on the oligarchs who have so much economic and political power. We are prepared to take them on and create an economy that works for working people, not just the 1%.
And so what does that look like to you once you have?
Yeah, because I was going to say, it's not enough. The left has spent too much time saying they'll do these things, and then when they get into office, they get thwarted because, as Jon Stewart said, it's like Obama gets to the end of his presidency, tries to push through a Supreme Court justice, and Mitch McConnell's like, no, that's not going to happen. Trump gets to the end of his presidency, tries to push through a Supreme Court justice. Democrats go, hey, remember when you guys did it? And the fucking right's like, we don't give a fuck. We're going to push it through anyways. So it's, like I said, part of it is that the Democrats have to grow a fucking spine. They need people that are willing to break the status quo. They need people, specifically young people, because that's where the passion comes from. That's where the fight comes from. They need people that are going to say, look, get us into office and watch what the fuck happens. And I'll tell you what, if I don't get shit done, you don't ever have to vote for me again. Because I'm that fucking confident. You put me in office, I'm going to get shit done.
Have the descriptive and you recognize the prescriptive is we have to take on the oligarchy. Look, I think you're leading the way right now, speaking to workers across the country. And so maybe just speak to anybody who's listening right now. We've got a pretty big audience here, and to the American people. What does that fight look like now where MAGA controls the executive branch, both houses in Congress? What does the fight look like?
It means that this is a critical and unprecedented moment in American history. It means that despair is not an option. And it means that you got to stand up and fight back, not only for yourselves, but for your kids, and in terms of climate change, for the future of the planet. So what does that mean? It means you got to get out of your zone of comfort. It means you must be involved in the political process. And that means maybe running for school board, running for city council, running for state legislature, or supporting good candidates who are prepared to stand up for the working class. It means right now, when we're facing a major Republican reconciliation bill, which wants to give over $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1% and cut Medicaid and education, it means making sure that your member of Congress does not vote for that terrible piece of legislation. And by and large, it means in any way that you think is effective, get involved in the political process. The truth of the matter is that what goes on in Washington is way, way, way out of touch with where the American people are. The American people don't think billionaires need a tax break. American people don't want to cut Medicaid. The American people are sick and tired of paying the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, of being the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people, of having the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth, a nation in which 22% of seniors are trying to get by on $15,000 a year or less. In other words, the American people do not support the status quo. But what we have got to do is educate and organize and get people involved in whatever way works for them in the political process. And ultimately, we need to create a government with members of Congress who are standing proudly with the working class and not with the 1% and campaign contributors. That's what it means.
Where does the Fight the Oligarchy tour go next?
We're going to be in Las Vegas on Thursday. And then we are going to Denver, Colorado. And then we're going to be in Greeley, Colorado. And then we're going to be in Arizona.
Nice.
Both in Phoenix and in Tucson. And already I'm told by my staff that we have some 20,000 RSVPs for the rally in Denver, which will, I think, be the largest rally, which is kind of off the charts. But the turnout looks like it's very good. I'm going to be going
hearing Bernie say
with my good friend, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who I think, as everybody knows, has been an inspiration for young people all over this country. She's a real fighter. She's doing a great job in the House. So it's an honor to be hitting the road with Alexandria.
It's an honor to have you here on the Meidas Touch podcast. Senator Bernie Sanders will be covering all of those rallies here. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you very much. Keep up the good work.
That's dope. And you know what? Here's the thing. I said this when Trump was elected. I said, you really have a choice at this point. you can be apathetic, you can claim exhaustion, you can check out, or you can take a page out of the MAGA supporters book, and you can start now and not stop for 4 straight fucking years of speaking up and making sure people hear your voice, because there's a lot about MAGA that I don't understand. But the one thing that I understand as being something that worked was they never stopped talking about Donald Trump being cheated. They never stopped. They weren't apathetic. They weren't exhausted. They didn't go away. They didn't take time off, to be fucking honest with you. These fucking nut jobs. But in the end, whether or not it was, at the upper levels of Congress and people in states getting people purged from voter rolls, whether it was, in some way fixing the system so that way Trump could win, or whether it was people constantly spreading misinformation and disinformation, they never stopped doing that. And what Bernie is doing right now, what AOC is doing right now, is what I'm talking about. There's no time. If you're a congressperson, if you're a senator, if you're a local politician, there's no time. You don't get to just sit back and let things happen and just figure out what's going to, well, maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, we'll see. No, that's your fucking job. Your job is to get on the road, go find fucking people that are disillusioned with what Trump's been doing, and say, we could make this better if you want to. We can make this good for everybody if you want to, but we got to do better next time. So that's what's got to happen. Diane Russell, what's happening? Lurking with a migraine? Thanks for shouts and love early in the show. Of course. I sent you guys an email too. Check it out. Not right now with a migraine. But I just want to give you guys a little advice with how I had grown my channel, and specifically why I don't do those things anymore. But if you guys wanted to, because like running vertical streams is a great way to grow your channel. I have really bad internet, so I can either do the vertical or I can do the horizontal, and most of the people that watch the show prefer the horizontal. So rather than grow my channel, I'd rather have my channel be something that people enjoy. So I'd rather do the horizontal. But if you guys wanted to learn about vertical and shit, let me know, and we'll make that happen. Fan says, I've been pointing that out since 2016. Trump has never stopped running for office. He's been holding rallies for the entire decade. Between then and now, we need to do the same. Yeah, exactly. Fan. It's do not stop. And look, like, I've got a full-time job. I've got a family. I've got kids' sporting events to go to. And I don't plan on stopping. Plan on being here 4 years from now, unless I'm gulagged. Me and Kyle Kalinske in the same gulag cell, sharing Lucy's and talking about the good old days. That's a possibility. Trying to dig ourselves out of a cell with a spoon. I'm hoping to get either like Kyle Kalinske or maybe, I don't know, Brian Tyler Cohen. Maybe Adam Mockler. If I get Adam Mockler as a cellmate, that'd be really dope. I'd probably drive him nuts, actually. But yeah, 4 years from now, if I'm not gulagged, I will be here. And I think that's important. I'm going to continue doing my interviews with all of these book authors. I'm going to continue doing live streams. I'm going to continue cutting up these live streams and making clips. I do want to get more videos made of some of the things that also aren't part of the live stream, and I'm trying to find time to do that too. I want to stay active. I want to stay loud. I want to stay out in front of people's faces, because that's what they did. And I think we need to do the same. So I hope you guys can do that. And don't forget to hydrate, guys. Don't forget to hydrate. So yeah, check out my email, Diane, and let me know what you guys think. And we can do a Discord call or a Zoom call or something, and we can talk about that. Okay, well, I was gonna pull out some other ones, but I think or maybe here, let's watch a little bit of this wisecrack video. I don't know if you guys ever watch these guys, so let's watch a little bit of this one. This is Democracy is Collapsing. This 1971 playbook started it all. I have not watched this. I see he is a Bears fan, so I'm going to question his decision-making ability. But we're going to give him a chance.
Over 50 years old and is currently dismantling our democracy. You can draw a straight line from it to our emerging tech oligarchy.
Oh, I don't think we're witnessing the start of an oligarchy. I think we are
You see what I'm saying?
Here.
You see what AOC is doing right here? Like, that's... Can you see fucking Chuck Schumer doing this? No, he doesn't know how to do this. AOC knows what she's doing.
And here's the scary thing. Even if we manage to stop Doge or the terrorizing of migrants, this memo and its half-century of influence, well, it isn't going anywhere. And if anyone is going to have any hope of saving our democracy, politicians and activists need to combat.
I'm going to guess it's the Powell memo. Was 71? I think that might be too late. Pretty sure, though. Powell memo.
Its legacy.
Welcome to the new American oligarchy.
So it's 1971, and corporate lawyer Lewis Powell is cracking open my favorite toilet read, Fortune magazine, when he sees his worst enemy staring back at him.
You know his name. It's Ralph Nader. He's father of this country's consumer movement. In almost 30 years of advocacy, he has created a national consciousness about product safety in almost all areas of our lives, from the cars we drive to where we work.
As a board member of Philip Morris, Powell's mission was convincing the public that cigarettes weren't really that bad for you. The celebrity of this car safety crusader was horrifying to Powell, so he called up his neighbor to complain about Nader's threat to the great American tradition of corporate crime. And maybe just to shut him up, that neighbor, who happened to run the Chamber of Commerce, commissioned Powell to write a confidential memorandum for its members. It would become a 6,400-word screed about the plight of the forgotten man. The forgotten man here is corporate America, which in Powell's view had as little influence in government of any group in the country. Titled Attack on American Free Enterprise System, his memo began, no thought...
And this is still, to this day, an opinion that many people have in the upper middle class, is that they need more authority. I've said this before. I don't think that Elon Musk wants more money. I think that Elon Musk wants more power. Many of these people aren't complaining about how much money they have. They're complaining that they don't get the proper amount of authority that they believe they should have. I think this is one of the things that people are very much getting wrong about what Elon Musk is doing right now. Almost everybody is concentrating on the money. It's not money. Money is resources. Resources are power. They want more voice, they want more resources, and they want more control.
Thoughtful person can question that the American economic system is under broad attack. Those attacks were coming from leftist radicals who he once compared to Adolf Hitler.
These are the left that we have to be.
Now he'd
this is the left we have to be.
Powell reflected that America's devoted businessmen hadn't been prepared for the left's guerrilla warfare, as they'd been too busy doing their jobs and generally being good citizens. He writes, the time has come for the wisdom, ingenuity, and resources of American businesses to be marshaled against those who would destroy it. In short, he wanted a government run for business by business. What we in the industry like to call an oligarchy. Powell boldly called for corporate America to seize power and use it aggressively, without embarrassment and without the reluctance which has been so characteristic of American business. And the American business world was ready to listen. Powell's memo circulated widely, essentially going pre-internet viral, according to the investigative journalist behind the podcast The Master Plan. Powell gained immediate disciples. Joseph Coors of Really Cold Beer fame read the memo and launched the massively influential Heritage Foundation, whose pro-business policy recommendations would culminate.
Look at all this. It's so crazy how you can trace this shit all back. It's insane. Like, just think about, like, add together what you have here, what he's talking about with the Powell memo, techno-oligarchy. You talk about the 70s, you talk about Steve Jobs and the Silicon Valley, the people who became tech oligarchs that were mixing with the 70s hippies that were, anti-big government, anti-vaccine, and created this ideology. So on one side, you have all the tech oligarchs that are being formed during this time. And on the other side, you have the Heritage Foundation types that are also being formed right now. And then in the 50s, you have the Red Scare, you have McCarthyism, and that bleeding into this. And you can see how all three of these paths tend to converge into Donald Trump's presidency today. It's actually really crazy when you start tracing all these things back. You can see the connections between all this
Project
stuff.
2025.
With its stated goal being, quote, to assemble an army of aligned, vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives to go to work on day one to deconstruct the administrative state.
Everyone from the Koch brothers to billionaire activist Richard Mellon Scaife took his words to heart. The Chamber of Commerce quickly organized 2 Powell Memo
Just like
task
Yarvin
force
now.
conventions in 1973, the Levitt reports. One at the Polynesian Resort in Disney, one in Texas, and participants ranged from soon-to-be President Gerald Ford to the young, ambitious Roger Ailes. Now, Powell's main concern was reestablishing corporate interest in 4 arenas: politics and public opinion, the media, and college campuses. I want to talk about each of them and how they've created our modern nightmare, but let's start with college campuses. Now, in Powell's telling, the most dangerous enemy of the business elite, besides
familiar?
Nader, was personally attractive and magnetic leftist thinkers on college campuses who are leading millions of bright young men to hate their country and its freedoms. I feel really seen right now. You know, I don't know if I was a personally attractive professor.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is that sounds real familiar, right? And this is where the power lies for the leftist movement, is in people like Adam Mockler and Luke Beasley and these other big channels that are doing the work that these young people were doing on college campuses at that time, and obviously also these kids that are still at college campuses as well.
Actually, on Rate My Professor, they have the chili pepper, and I often got the chili pepper, so thanks, students. But as one might expect from a partner at a law firm that wouldn't hire black people, a certain kind of revolutionary especially got Powell's goat. He specifies that in most of these groups, the movement against the system is participated in only by minorities. Yet, these often are the most articulate, the most vocal, the most prolific in their writing and speaking. I'm not going to say he's like less than a racist, but at least he's a complimentary racist, I guess. As part of its quest to regain power, Powell argued that corporate America should propagate pro-business sentiments in academia by, among other things, sending equally attractive, articulate, and well-informed speakers. Groups like the National Association of Scholars began to crop up, boldly promoting Western intellectual heritage, combating multicultural or feminist curricula, and funding the careers of aspiring conservative scholars. Financial speculators funded economics professors to downplay market risks before the 2008 financial collapse. By 2011, the Charles G. Koch Foundation went mask off and took over hiring at Florida State University via its $1.5 million grant. Today, the tech oligarchy has its hands all over academia. They pay for the research of the very people in a position to criticize them, says scholar Hani Farid. It's what the oil and gas industry has done with climate change, and it's what the tobacco companies did with cigarette research. Powell's memo also warned that school textbooks should be put under instant surveillance because they were being covertly rewritten by civil rights and union activists.
And that once again, this is cyclical, right? It's like, that's the same thing that also happened during the Red Scare. It was, we can't have, these certain authors having their books out there because even if they don't espouse communist ideas, they're written by communists, therefore they're bad. And this is now, like I've said, the Red Scare, and I call this the PED Scare, is the idea that, you can't have LGBT people involved in those because they're grooming the children and turning the children trans and all of that shit. So you're also having the same pushback against books like this in this era as well.
Rather than showing both sides of highly debatable topics like segregation. At the same time, Powell's call for corporate America to create its own culture of scholarship and activism was met practically overnight with a flood of right-wing think tanks like the Cato Institute and the Federalist Society. While designing their PR makeover, the corporate class heeded Powell's warning that no one business could campaign too prominently, lest it become a target of the left's wrath. Rather, they collectively pooled their resources behind faceless, pleasantly titled organizations like the Chamber of Commerce or the Free Enterprise Institute, which is exactly what they did to fend off Powell's nemesis.
And that's what that caught me off guard when I was first looking at all of this. Like, that's how well that type of subversive naming of organizations is. When I realized, I was like, oh, the Chamber of Commerce is not good. I was like, oh, they got me. They got me good with that one. I mean, even Citizens United, right? Citizens United? Like, what the fuck? Like, how? What do you mean, united? I ain't united in this bullshit. Like, it's pretty crazy how well they've built all of this shit. And it just goes to show that for those people out there that we complain about them being aggressively gullible or simple-minded, like for people that aren't aggressively gullible or simple-minded, it's still a chore to figure some of this shit out. So you can imagine how easy it is for these people to be like, yeah, I'll believe it. It's good, actually. Like, I like it a lot.
Ralph Nader. Fun fact, the first time I voted in a presidential election, I voted for Ralph Nader. Hit me in the comments and say, you ruined it. You voted for a third-party candidate, and that's why Bush was president. I was voting in California. It didn't matter, and I did it to impress a girl. Mere months after the memo gained popularity,
Politically illiterate.
Business Roundtable formed, quickly enlisting 113 Fortune 200 CEOs. They bankrolled what one congressman called the most intense lobbying I have ever seen to defeat Ralph Nader's 1977 plan to start a non-regulatory consumer protection agency to advocate for things like fair prices and better safety measures.
Wow, that sounds terrible. Good thing they stopped that.
In case you're not tuned into the news, Elon Musk and Doge is currently gutting the Consumer Protections Bureau. That's cool. And we saw this the day before we were filming this video when Musk had a really bizarre press conference in the Oval Office. There's an article about it here titled, Musk's Cheeky Son Steals Show as He Picks Nose and Squirms in Oval Office with Don. Okay. And now if you just read that headline, you might just skip over it, right? Because if the most headline-inspiring thing
ground news is cool. Ground news is great, but I only have so much time left.
There's probably not anything, newsworthy going on.
Sorry,
With the information you need to navigate
there
this
you go.
increasingly weird time. Now, I think Ground News is doing really important work. I hope you check them out. But for now, let's get back to the show. When it came to the media, Powell warned conservatives to monitor television just as doggedly as they did textbooks, and encouraged special interest groups to complain to the FCC when free enterprise was treated unfairly. He urged corporate America to similarly propagate its ideas across written media from popular.
Ultimate Reduction, it says, thank you for voting for Ralph Nader. My family and friends and all proudly voted for Ralph Nader 4 times for POTUS. That's pretty dope. I heard that there's a really good documentary on Ralph Nader. I don't know enough about Ralph Nader, but I'm going to definitely try to find this documentary that this girl at my work was actually telling me about. So I'm going to check out more about Ralph Nader. I think that's next. Right now I'm working on this guy right here. I don't know if you guys can see this well. George C. Marshall. A big part of, obviously, the end of World War II and a part of World War II. That's the book I'm currently working on. And the other book I'm reading, the COVID book as well. I'm reading that one. And then I want to potentially, the next 2 people I think I'd like to look into is Nader. And I do know something about Winston Churchill, but I'd like to read a book about Winston Churchill as well.
Magazines to scholarly journals. But back to Powell, who actually had one fourth pillar of his plan so chilling that we had to save it for last. He predicted that with an activist-minded Supreme Court, the judiciary may be the most important instrument for social, economic, and political change. Corporations like Philip Morris started funding an explosion of legal foundations to sue the government for overreach against corporations' rights, including the National Chamber Litigation Center, which today has a 70% win rate in the Roberts Supreme Court. But as if to really prove his point, 3 months later, Powell eked out Nixon's nomination to the Supreme Court, where he would become the activist judge he had described in his memo, one with a fanatical belief in the interest of corporate America. Listen, I don't like him, but it's cool to have a dream and then achieve that dream. That's cool. Powell's ascension to the Supreme Court set the stage for today's oligarchy by giving a voice to that forgotten man, the lowly corporation. Little corporation, you need help getting up the stairs? By 1978, he was penning a decision in the First National Bank of Boston v. Bellotti case that took the monumental step of declaring corporations' right to free speech. And by free speech, I mean the right to just spend a ton of money on ballot initiatives across the country. The legalese is complicated and boring, but the point is that Powell set a huge precedent in this corporate right to free speech, which laid the groundwork for Citizens United to flood corporate money into politics in 2010, facilitating the rise of corporate influence over political policy. 8 years after Powell galvanized his conservative tribe, the country elected the most business-friendly president it had seen in decades. My guy, Ronald Reagan. Now, the Powell-inspired Heritage Foundation sent Reagan a list of 2,000 policy recommendations, 2/3 of which it claims Reagan attempted or achieved. Today, many scholars draw a straight line from Powell's memo to the rise of corporate power in America that has consolidated wealth into the hands of the extraordinarily rich. If you're extraordinarily rich, give us money. Powell would be pleasantly surprised that the once supposedly politically reluctant businessmen have aggressively entered politics, creating a revolving door between corporate America and Washington, D.C. that skews everything in the favor of wealthy business elites. Like how George Bush's chief of counsel on environmental quality was an American Petroleum Institute lobbyist who personally edited climate reports to stoke uncertainty about the science. He later took a gig at ExxonMobil. Good for him. During Obama's time in office, the revolving door between tech and government thrived, with over 250 individuals moving between Google.
This is actually something I wanted to talk about on a video, was how Obama's administration did indeed create the door opening to what is happening with Trump now. And I know that sounds insane, but it is the truth, because Obama embraced these big tech people super strongly, and that's why you actually saw so many of them in Biden's camp for the first bit, right? A lot of these tech oligarchs were actually attempting to find their way into Biden's government. Biden, crazy enough as it was, actually kind of stiff-armed them and kept them at arm's length away. And to this point, I mean, I'm both weirdly proud of him for doing it, but also at the same time very surprised, because the left was very much accepting of tech oligarchs within, Obama's administration. It was a revolving door of them, and really fucking surprised me that Biden kind of pushed them off. And obviously what they chose to do was they chose to find a much more malleable presidential candidate, and they found that very easily in Donald Trump, who obviously now is just literally going and golfing while Elon Musk burns down the country. And he golfs. Yeah. So
Google's empire and the federal government alone. Today, nearly 700 government officials, military officers, and members of Congress hold high-ranking positions at the top 20 defense companies, likely contributing to the intense price gouging on military contracts that constitutes half the Pentagon's budget. Since Powell's memo, the new oligarchy's influence over money and ideas has gutted welfare, crushed healthcare reform, and stymied action on climate change. Meanwhile, 741 billionaires, exemplified by the Musks and Zuckerbergs of the world, wield $5 trillion in wealth compared to the roughly $4 trillion owned by the bottom 50% of American households.
I've used that
This
chart.
wielding of wealth is seen in Elon Musk's contributions to the Trump campaign, which then enabled his shadow presidency. So what made Powell's blueprint so effective in creating a system in which the business interest of an elite group matters way more than the interest of the general population? To answer that, it's worth returning to a few lines of the Powell memo that may have made your ears perk up. Now, recall how Powell calls out the power of civil rights activists and radical minority activists. Now, this wasn't out of character. He once worried he wouldn't be confirmed to the Supreme Court because he'd publicly insulted Martin Luther King Jr. in numerous speeches, even dismissing King's letter from a Birmingham jail as simply a doctrine of anarchy that nobody intellectually honest could espouse. He also chastised black activists because at least they were better off in America than they would be in Uganda, and he warned another justice that full desegregation...
Dude, that's literally an argument that people make even today. Oh my God, we have not grown. We have not grown. Fan says, you need to go back even further. Look in the original national parties, the Federalists and Anti-Federalists. That's where things first started to go wrong. Yeah, no. I was looking at, was it Franklin Pierce? I think it was during Franklin Pierce's time, a little bit about the Federalists. So I know what you're talking about. And isn't that that Leo, whatever his name is, that also funds all the Supreme Court justices runs to be on the Supreme Court? Also, he's a part of the Federalist Society, right? I'm pretty sure he is as well. Yeah, it's pretty trippy. It goes back to the beginning of America, pretty much. There's very little time spent after the creation of America as its own country. There's very little time until these people start setting down their roots and making these decisions as to what they want to do with the government. And that's why sometimes it's a little bit trippy to me to talk to people about like Curtis Yarvin and Peter Thiel and stuff, and have people say like, oh, well, that's just conspiracy theory because like, oh, are these people really trying to like go this crazy with the government? They're just trying to make money, bro. And it's like, no, this is a tale as old as time. People just like religious people, tech oligarchs, wealthy corporations, they all believe in creating some type of narrative for their own life while they're here that ends in some type of legacy. And they believe that the way to accomplish that legacy is by changing the very fundamental way that this country works to better fit what they want to do, right? And so when I talk about Curtis Yarvin, and many people kind of roll their eyes or go like, yeah, bro, whatever, that's kind of conspiracy-ish or whatever. It's like, this is not new. People have forever been trying to create a government that they think is the best. I mean, that's how we got this country. It's not conspiracy to think that. But people are obsessed with thinking about the monetary portion of it. And so they constantly think that, like, you know, a bunch of people trying to create a form of government that gives them authority, power, control, connections, status, all of those things, that seems far-fetched to them. But if you sell them on the idea that it's just all for money, they're like, yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's across the board. I don't think that's just on the right. I think that the left as well tends to fall into this trap of thinking that everything is just about money. But these people have plenty of money. They're looking for other things. And some of that is legacy driven and some of that is control driven or authority driven. And it's a little bit of a kink for them. You know what I'm saying?
Segregation would make our cities jungles. I hope that hearing that felt a tenth as gross as it felt to say it. Now, as Justice Powell wrote a majority decision claiming that the United States had become a nation of minorities and white people needed protection as a minority group. I think he might have been a bad guy. Powell's memo helped catalyze the kind of philanthropy that fully metastasized into the 1980s culture wars over things like humanities curriculums and political correctness, wars designed to trigger white animosity with the secondary aim of undermining working class solidarity. Now, this strategy is tried and true. It was used by the earliest oligarchs in America, colonial plantation owners who created a racial caste system to pit white European indentured servants against enslaved Africans. As historian Heather Cox Richardson notes, encouraging poor whites to identify with white landowners meant their lower-class white neighbors got the benefit of believing they were on the same level as rich men because they shared the same racial identity. They would not revolt because preserving the distinction between themselves and slaves was more important than seeking political power. Imagine that, people. You know? Imagine if the strong, rich, powerful white guys knew that the less powerful white guys would just do whatever they wanted because of racial animosity, and if they sort of fueled that racial animosity, Rachel, not Rachel, Rachel, we love you, that they could then just take power and do whatever they wanted with it. What if that happened? Gilded Age oligarchs and mass manufacturing created racial caste systems that made labor solidarity impossible, often using immigrants of color as strikebreakers, all while advocating for social Darwinism that treated white people as inherently superior. The political elite exploited sectional, racial, cultural, and religious cleavages to win office. Then they turned government over to the corporations. Or as magnate Jay Gould put it, I can hire one half of the working class to kill the other half.
Oh
Jay
my
Gould
God.
also sounds like a bad guy. Despite America making some racial progress, this cleavage has been re-employed by the powerful conservative academic, media, and political machine to convince poor Americans that any government spending is bad because it amounts to handouts to marginalized groups. From Reagan's welfare queens.
She used 80 names, 30 addresses, 15 telephone numbers to collect food stamps, Social Security, veterans benefits for 4 non-existent deceased veterans' husbands.
Dog, first of all, I'm not even mad. I'm actually pretty fucking impressed. Like, come on. Like, you hear that story nowadays, you don't even get mad. You look at that shit and you're like, damn, how? That's like when you guys hear the story about, like, the guy that got paid but didn't show up to work for like 6 years. And you're like, not really mad. Big up to you, brother.
As well as welfare.
To today's war over DEI.
Are you saying this crash was somehow
here we go.
caused and the result of diversity hiring? And what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been. We have a high standard. We've had a much higher standard than anybody else.
Which are parroted by Elon Musk and elevated on his social media platform. Oligarchs continue to foment racial grievances to distract people from their economic pain and encourage their business-friendly beliefs in small governments and even smaller taxes. When Powell envisioned a more politically empowered conservative business movement, he likely didn't picture a volatile near-trillionaire hacking into the Treasury Department. But the success of the agenda he laid out in his memo indisputably was a huge inflection point that helped get us here. Okay, guys, that's all for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe, ring the bell, and leave a comment if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.
This guy's dope. I know he's only part of this. I think there's more people that are part of Wisecrack, but he's dope. I really enjoy. I watched some other videos of his, and I really liked him too. He's got a good way of talking and stuff. What I was gonna say is that, like, do you guys remember the time? I say this a lot. Do you remember the time when we all agreed that billionaires are assholes? Do you remember a time when us lower middle class, upper middle class, impoverished people, all of us agreed that, like, the real issues in our society were due to corruption and billionaires and gigantic fucking conglomerates like BlackRock and Terminus and Vanguard? Remember when we all agreed on that? And then half of our country got mentally ill because of COVID, and now they support the billionaires and the corruption, and they're happy BlackRock bought the openings to the Panama Canal. Yeah, Pepperidge Farm remembers. Pepperidge Farm remembers. God damn it, man. It's almost like we were close. We were close. We almost did it. We were so close. And then the fucking Donald Trump was like, I got this, and he just cleaved us right in fucking half. All right, guys. I think that's it for tonight. I appreciate you guys. Thank you to everybody that gifted memberships. I appreciate you guys. You're fucking amazing as always. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. You guys are building a stronger and stronger Ginger Army every day. It is we're becoming a legion, guys. We are becoming legion. By the end of this 4 years, the Angry Ginger Army will take over. We will take over. So thank you guys for everybody that gifted memberships. You guys are super dope. Thank you guys that just came here and commented and were in the chat and were super awesome, amazing, fucking best people in the goddamn world. Thank you guys so much. Let's see. Next show is, today is Wednesday. So next show is Saturday. If you haven't subscribed to the Angry Ginger Clips video channel, you can go check out Angry Ginger Clips. It's where we cut up these long-ass fucking live streams. So if you guys can't hang for a full 3 hours with me, you can go watch them in cut-up versions. And that channel's actually doing pretty good. I think we've got like 140 subscribers or something like that in the first like couple weeks. So pretty good for me, to be honest with you. So that's over there. You can go subscribe to Angry Ginger Clips. Other than that, I'm going to try and put out some new videos, so check them out when they come out if I have time. And check out that Clay Risen interview that's coming out on Friday. Friday, we'll have the Clay Risen video where we talk about the Red Scare. Really interesting conversation. Super dope dude. A New York Times reporter, editor, and author. Also a historian. So fucking really enjoyed my conversation with him. We even had a little behind the scenes afterwards that was really fun, talking about other shit like Curtis Yarvin. Yeah, really, really fun interview. So check it out on Friday. So if you guys want to be here on Saturday, that would be dope as well. Saturday at 5 o'clock. Thank you guys for everything you guys do. You're the dopest fucking community in the entire fucking world, and I really wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. So I love you guys to death. Thank you so much, and I'll see you